Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Of course, this is Night Owls, and we're going to be getting into various different things, but we will be talking about the absolute onslaught of Zaslav at Warner Brothers. I mean, this guy ain't playing games. So much stuff cut. It's almost as if is it too much? But nevertheless, welcome. Hopefully, you guys will hit that like and share button. Let people know what's going on. I'm going to do that right now, of course, and hopefully we'll get someone come in here to join me shortly. But nevertheless, hopefully you guys had yourselves a good weekend. I know mine was very quiet. I just stayed home and I read a lot, which is normally what I do anyway. But it's good, nice quiet weekend with the wife. I can't complain. I right now am actually having my Saturdays off for a little while. I do think I will go. I am going back soon, but it's nice to have 2 days off a week instead of one. It's rare. Nevertheless, how are you all doing? Did you do anything interesting this weekend? So let me go ahead and get this share out. There we go. Let me pop this over. Curious as to what is going on over in the States, seeing as I've been gone for so long. I'm certainly out of touch with it, although it is nice talking with all you all and hearing what's happening over there. It's it's mixed because certain people say that they have to listen to the noise all the time. Other people like, it's normal. I guess it just depends on where you live. Whereabouts in the world are you, Roger? Are you a Midwesterner, a East Coaster, a West Coaster, Southerner? What are you? Hmm. But anyway, today we will be getting into that. I hadn't prepared any specific board game to talk about today, other than the fact just to continually promote them. I do like board games. I think they're very, very valuable. Oh, you're in California. Oof, that's vicious, Roger. Why do you stay there? If it's because I hear it's really bad. So taxes, inflation, everything is really, really, really bad. Why are you still in California, Roger? No choice, family. But anyway, with board games, I think it's a very valuable thing, and I'm glad to see it going through a golden age, which has been going on for quite a while. Because with video games and social media and stuff, people just don't sit down together as much. But a board game kind of, facilitates that. And having a bunch of people sitting around at a table, cooperating with a set amount of rules is really, really good. It creates social interaction, it builds up social skills, and it's fun. I definitely come from a generation that's much happier being with people than just interacting at a distance. Roger says, it is my hard headed brother likes it here. Oh, I see. Well, there are good things about California. The weather is amazing. Of course, Mother Nature's trying to kill you all the time. But, I live in Japan. Who, what am I to say? But it does seem like it's becoming more and more difficult with simply the cost of life. I mean, everything is through the roof over there in California. It's just through the roof, and they're taxing everything. You can't have anything. You can't own anything. It's become. It must be difficult. It must be difficult, especially seeing as there are neighboring states where the government hardly interacts with you at all. Roger says, "I love him, but at times he is a hard-headed. He is hard-headed, though. Well, we all have family like that. So you're somehow tied to your brother. You can't move on your own, or are you? I suppose in California, maybe it takes a family to survive anyway, huh? I'm not sure. But I do know you have states right nearby you, which are the government hardly interacts with you. No income taxes, the government's hardly at your door, things like that. He says he's starting to feel shameful living here now. Well, it's not your fault. It's the the woke tards and their governmental concepts. It has nothing to do with you. I mean, you just have to either choose to live in it or not live in it. Me personally, I would like to see every single sensible person drained out of California because that's the only way it's going to change. Because when they fall on their face, which they're already doing, keep in mind, California generates the highest revenue of any state out in the Americas, aside from Texas from time to time. But I think California is still generates the highest number of funds. But they also have the lowest monetary rates as far as state of living and all those kind of stuff in America. So they bring in the most money, but they're the poorest at the same time, and it's because they're dumping money into nonsense constantly. It's ridiculous that you because California, if you take it out just on its own, it's in the top 10 richest places on the planet. Right? It's very very wealthy. But yet it throws its money away and at the end of the year has nothing so much so that it desperately needs the federal government's help. And maybe that's the solution. Maybe the federal government should be downsized and not offer help at all. Reduce overall income taxes from the federal government, and maybe this will force some change. But then again, I'm certainly not an expert on Californian economics, but just simple statistical information shows that it's really not bad. He said he was starting to think about moving to Dallas, but when my mom just passed away, I have to readjust because now it's just me, he and I guess is what you're trying to say. I see. Is he your younger brother, Roger? Maybe that's part of it. Yeah, Dallas. It's a hot place though, dude. Dallas, Houston is worse, I hear. It's very, very hot. I wish Ben was in here. He could tell us all about it. He lives in Austin. But a lot of people are going to Texas. But Texas is a very stable place. They do tend to balance their budget there, which is a good thing. He's older than you. Oh, wow. I see. Well, you might just have to pull that trigger there, Roger. Maybe if you go over and you go to Dallas and you're successful, maybe he'll come and join you. What is it you do for a living, Roger? What's your work? I know we've been able to talk to lots of people here that do all kind of things. That's pretty cool. We have repairmen, carpenters, a couple of engineers. There's some teachers. There is, of course, Ben is works for Microsoft. He's a computer guy. He's always been good at that. Et cetera, et cetera. We got lots of people who do different things. We've got salesmen too. What do you do, Roger? He does real estate. Shh. There you go, dude. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to get a Texas real estate agent's license, seeing as you already have one in California. That's definitely can be profitable business. You just simply sell for companies, or do you buy and flip? Let's see here. Bring it back up here. All right. Waiting to see if anyone's going to jump in here with me. If not, I will just go ahead and go through the stuff that I've collected today to talk about. But hopefully, as I said to everyone listening, you guys had yourself a really good weekend. It's definitely the heat is coming down where I am slightly. It's still kind of warm. I'm still using the air conditioning from, when the heat of the day comes up anyway. But it is definitely cooling, and that's good. But then again, this year in Japan hasn't been particularly hot. We had a couple of hot days, but pretty normal summer. But then again, it moves around. Every decade or so, you'll get a hot day in your or a hot summer in your area. Usually, is what it seems. China, on the other hand, is being hit really, really hard. They've got a ridiculous drought and heat wave going on here for months now, and boy, is it causing. It shows you how fragile their system is. But once again, that's just corruption and you know, malmanagement. Flipping, and right now I hear that Dallas is in a flood. Flood meaning literal flood or a flood of opportunity. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But yeah, being a real estate agent and understanding that, be able to get a license. I think it could work nearly anywhere, couldn't you? I mean, everyone's always looking to buy. I mean, right now the market is a bit ridiculous with inflations, but that will pop. And when markets pop, actually, that's when people start buying a lot. So it sounds bad, but for a real estate agent, it's actually probably a really good time. Anyway, but yeah, I did watch a bunch of stuff, just kind of catching up the news with China today, and this weekend, and yeah, it's not going well. They're having some really really serious problems over there. They're, heat waves and droughts, of course, move around, and sometimes they're just seasonal, and sometimes they're man-made. For instance, the situation in California, the droughts in California are absolutely man-made. That's and I'm kind of wondering when someone's going to pay attention and see that, because I'm not even involved and I can see the human interaction with that. And The situation in China is very similar. It's just, one of the problems they have in China is, you know, we could go on to communism and its quotas and all that kind of stuff, but the real problem with it is that you have these little communist feudal lords who rule all over the place. And the party itself is constantly trying not to be embarrassed, not to have too much noise. So if they have a little, CCP leader somewhere that does something bad, they'd much rather hide it than reveal the scandal and attack them. That's what it's evolved into. So you have these little feudal lords all over China that are beyond reproach, really, and they're just doing nonsense things, and they're moving power here, they're selling this or doing that. So all the power being produced in China is not being moved around properly, and therefore there are blackouts everywhere, right? Which in a heat wave is not a good idea. Plus, they have so many dams; they're not releasing water properly, which has created droughts to the points that these rivers they've lost. What was it? 4,000 rivers are gone. 4,000. It was 4 or 7,000. One or the other. They're still really bad. And that it's simply because they're not doing their job, because you have all these little controllers who are getting paid money in the back, all over the place, and of course they're not coordinating because all they care about is their little fiefdom. And that's one of the biggest problems over in China, and it's sad because the Chinese people are suffering really really hard, and you're saying it's literally flooding. Wow. Well, it happens. It is that time of year, isn't it? We haven't had any typhoon. No, we had one come through, but barely. We haven't had many typhoons this year. It's been a very quiet. Of course, we still have a few months where we can get hit by them, but it's been a pretty quiet year actually here where I live, which is a bit surprising because, like I said, just to the southwest of me, there is a radical heat wave causing ridiculous levels of drought in China. I mean, just there. But yet us, the Koreans, the Taiwanese who are just offshore, we're not. It's not a particularly interesting summer at all. So I don't know, but they could come into the fact that they've cut all the trees down, and I mean, I'm sure there's factors. Anyway, well, it looks like just you and me, Roger. It's interesting. What's going on today? Usually we got ourselves a couple of dozen people in here, and we have a few speakers, but not today. I wonder why. Let me go over and check what's going on the other side. Uh, let's see. Ben is trying to bait people by telling them She-Hulk was good, even though even the right or left doesn't matter. Everyone says it sucks. Good on you, Ben. Good job. And Brett is responding to him. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see anybody up in here. Did I miss some announcements where people weren't going to be here or something? Let me check. Huh. I don't see anything offhand. Although Ben is having a lot of fun baiting you all, so I'm glad you guys are entertaining Ben. So thank you. Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't know, Roger. Maybe there's some other podcast going on or something that people are really enjoying, which is awesome. But just me. So I guess I will just jump in and just do my thing and go from there. Alrighty, I'll bring this up and I'll share just in case someone does jump in. There we go. Alrighty then. All right, so let's see here. So Blizzard Entertainment promises you will not be able to pay for power in Diablo 4. Now, of course, we know that Blizzard has been under a heavy attack, right? Blizzard has had a lot of problems. Some of them warranted, some of them not. Some of this is part of this whole woke nonsense, is kind of layered on top. We know that, but there seem to have been actual serious, actual things going on as well. But nevertheless, they've had a lot of controversy, and of course, when they came out with their Diablo mobile, which don't you have a phone? Of course, immediately people started complaining because it's 100% pay to win, and it's a ridiculous level of pay to win. It's not hundreds of dollars; it's tens of thousands of dollars. So no one believes them when they say this. And of course, if you go through this article, you will see that it's not directly true. Just like the mobile version wasn't, but it is true. They have live services and season passes and all that stuff. They're gonna penny pinch you for every little bit of new content. This is where they're gonna make money in Diablo. So maybe there won't be the loot box thing that they had in the mobile version. Okay, fine, but you're gonna pay anyway, right? So it looks like 4 times a year, literally seasonal. They're going to be dropping out content, which you'll have to pay for, and all kind of other little stuff. And I'm sure there'll be a um, highly overpriced shop for custom skins and costumes and things like that. I'm sure. And they're promising they have lots and lots of content for you to pay for. And this concept of paying for games and over years and years and years and paying a huge amount of money. Of course, it's not new, but it's just the way they do it makes people mad. For instance, one of my favorite things has always been MMOs, and I've been playing them for what, 20 years? Nearly. And I'd pay $15 a month. It's pretty standard. So I'd play those things for years. So I pay far more than I would if I just bought a game, I would think, right? Just with $15 a month, you're looking at sometimes you get a deal. You could buy for the annual of like $100 or something like that, $120. But you're paying more than you would for a game in one year. If you play it for multiple years, well, you're certainly paying more. So it's not like it's been done before, but something about that didn't irritate people. They're like, okay, $15 a month, you know. But then again, it was an MMO, and MMOs are, there's a lot of work in them. When you create a single player or any kind of other game, you put the work in, it goes out, and you're kind of done with it, right? You might have some updates, some tweaks, and things like that, but it's not a continuing labor of love per se. Where MMO certainly is. It takes a lot of money and time to produce them and to maintain them. But just saying, $15 a month, it never bothered me. I didn't even think about it. I was like, okay, I choose that it limits me. I don't play back in those days, especially we still have some, of course, but when everything was, 10, $15 a month, it limits you. You can't play everything. Like, all right, I'm going to choose this one or these two, and that's it. That's all I'm paying, right? So it does limit you. But these days with the things that Blizzard is doing, and it's not just them, EA does it and others. It's so much more expensive. They're trying to get so much more money out of you that it just creates a sense in your mind that all they care about is your money. Now, shock, it's a business. That's what they're trying to do. But you kind of feel you want to have a relationship where you feel there's a little bit of love back and forth, right? Yeah, of course they're trying to make money and we want to give them money, but we also want to feel like that they're having the fun too, that they're part of the experience as well. And we don't get that out of these companies like EA and Blizzard and others. They, Tencent, for instance, they're just there to bleed you. And this emotional scarring, I guess, if you want to call it that, is also part of the angst. I think. Did I hear someone just pop in?
Yeah, Thundera and I are both here.
Oh, awesome! Hey guys. But
Hello.
what do you guys think about that little statement I just threw out?
I think it's wonderful, Chester. I'm going to tell you the truth. I didn't hear most of it because I was
Oh,
talking to my wife.
oh, okay. Well, no,
But it
I'm
was
just.
wonderful.
Uh, uh,
Yeah. So I have some, so the way it used to be back in like the golden MMO days, right, is
yeah.
that you were paying a fee to help with like infrastructure costs, right?
Yeah.
Because a single player game, you get the disc or whatever, and then boom, you're playing it, and there's not much to it. And any multiplayer is like hosted locally, right? So you don't have to like worry about like a huge like infrastructure.
hmm
But with like EverQuest and World of Warcraft and stuff like that, they had a large architecture designed around making it massively multiplayer that's supporting tens of thousands of people all playing at once, right? And that has implications of server costs and all that good stuff, right? What we're into now is like this era of like microtransactions, right? Because that's
Mm,
what this all comes down to, is the microtransactions, right?
yeah.
And it does feel like they're kind of nickel and diming us to death,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
That they're not designing a game to be fun. They're designing a game to bleed the players dry. And Diablo, I mean, Blizzard especially has a lot of blood on their hands on this because their
Mm,
mobile game like could bleed people for tens of thousands of dollars,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's
That
true.
it was the biggest money pit, frankly, of any of these online like mobile games and such, right? Like criminally so.
Yeah. I
So
agree. Yeah.
and they've lost a lot of fan faith because of that.
hmm
And this is part of the corporatism of some of these entities that were more about the art than they were the money per se. I mean, like they want to make money, of course, right? But they're not looking to optimize every dollar gained on every penny spent, right? But that's what it's kind of turned into, is not a matter of making a good game with a good story, but like how are we optimizing for every penny we spend, how are we optimizing to get a dollar back or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
No,
And
no, it's true. I'm going to key in on what you said at the very first thing you said. Back in the day when, because you and I were playing MMOs way, way back, right?
yeah,
Together. And
with the dawn of Ultima Online. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
no, absolutely. But the thing with it is you're paying 10, $15 a month, right? But you actually felt like you were helping. You felt
right.
that you were part of the process. Now is that 100% true? Not really. But you felt that way, didn't you? And these days it's just irksome. It's just irksome, dude.
Well, you'd see stuff from that. You'd see like new content drops. You'd see like in World of Warcraft, they'd open up new dungeons. You'd get like some story progression, stuff like that. And
Mhm.
every once in a while, they'd come out with a big like expansion, right?
Sure.
And that would include a lot more content and stuff like that. But like, not only did your money go to like architecture, maintaining architecture, but your money also went to development,
Mhm.
right? And that they were actually doing dev cycles and stuff, right? Like one of the most interesting things, like if you go to City of Heroes, right, the homecoming thing is they're very transparent on where every dollar goes, right? Because they take donations for maintaining the infrastructure, and they tell you exactly how much they're spending on DNS charges, their ISP, their server hosting, like everything. They give it to you down to the penny of everything that costs
Sure.
for the
It's
server
community
hosting.
based, right?
Yeah, it's well because they can't make any money off of the game. Right? They're like, hey, listen, we're going to keep this up and running, but we don't want to have to like pay for the infrastructure because there's a lot of infrastructure. So if we can just get you guys to donate enough to pay for the infrastructure, but we're not making any money off of it, we're good. We're not in like violation of like IP copyright and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So as long as they're not actually making money off of it, and that it's just covering server costs, that's why they keep it very transparent. They say we're opening up donations, and we will cut it off as soon as we make cost, and anything that goes above that, we're going to roll into the next month, right? But that gives you a really good idea of like what is the cost of like architecture and stuff like that. And then that gives you an idea of like if they had a Patreon or something like that, if like NCSoft like would just give them the rights like they should, they could set up like a little Patreon that says like just $5 a month. That'll if we have you know a couple thousand if a couple thousand people just paying $5 a month, that'll cover all the architecture, all the infrastructure, and then we'll have a little extra money to pay for actual devs to do like let's upgrade the game, let's get new
Right.
stuff in there, right?
And you
But
could
that's
say
what
that. Well, you could say the same thing back when they were under an Exxon. They were doing this. They were doing that then.
like, absolutely, yeah, because it was a labor of love. It
It
wasn't a
was.
labor of like and I want every developer to get paid well, right? That's absolutely right. I don't want the developers to be like working poor to make these games,
No.
right?
No.
So, but I also don't want a big giant mega corporation trying to figure out how they can possibly bleed me out of every dollar for every penny they spend, right? It's this thing that Thunder and I talk about, right? Corporatism, right? It's a difference of corporatism versus capitalism, and this is corporatism really taking a thing that we love and taking all of the art and all of the storytelling out of it and just saying how can we bleed everyone as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And it's even if it's not well, this in this case it is, but it bleeds over, right? Because
Yeah.
we start getting this feeling from other people as well, and it's
Oh,
really bad business. And I'm kind of curious, what's going to happen because we know that I'm assuming Microsoft is going to have complete ownership of this somewhere in the late fall, winter, maybe in the beginning of next year. But when Microsoft takes this thing over, they've been left with a hot potato, dude.
oh, I mean, there's a ton of like corporate mismanagement that's taking place. You get more into the weeds of like how are they actually running the upper echelons? It was just a giant frat house and stuff, and that can kind of lead to some of the bad choices that were being made, at the back end and stuff, right? So there's just a lot of cleanup that needs to happen, right? Much like the Warner Discovery thing that's going on,
Hmm.
there's just a lot of house cleaning that needs to happen here,
Yeah,
and
yeah, we're going to talk
you know,
about that today quite a bit, actually.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't believe them. They're full of it. Maybe they're not going to have loot boxes in this one, possibly, but they're certainly doing live service, and they're going to penny pinch you 4 times a year. So you're going to be paying money out 4 times a year for Diablo, and which is a shame because the game looks good. And honestly, the mobile one looked good. It was smooth, dude. That's one thing about Blizzard that you can't take away from them. Those dudes know how to make a game, man. It's smooth as hell. It's really, really good. And going to a little bit with NCSoft that you were mentioning, with those guys, because that Korean company don't confuse that with the devs who were involved in game
no, no,
production
yeah,
because those
exactly.
guys are heartless dumbasses because they should have sold the City of Heroes rights since they're not going to do anything with it. But also WildStar. WildStar was quite successful. It wasn't a failure at all. Once again, another game that the devs were just simply a labor of love. Beautiful game, and that's NCSoft just freaking nixed it. And I still don't know why. Did they ever announce why they canceled this thing that was actually making money, just like City of Heroes, which was actually making money? Anybody know?
No, I mean, they don't announce that stuff. We have speculation, right? And I think part of it is some of the thinking from the company. It's a foreign entity, right, from Korea,
It is,
and
yeah.
they have a because there's a lot of like MMOs and stuff like that over there that we never see, right? That never get
Right.
like shipped in or what have you. And there's a
Well,
little
I
bit of a
do,
difference.
but yeah.
Well, you do, yeah, right. And I've seen them, but like for the most mainstream Americans, don't have a lot of exposure to it. But
Right.
there's a different development cycle like theory over there
Mm.
where we develop a game and we really just like to play the game. We kind of get wrapped up into our nostalgia and we enjoy playing the game. They're much more open to like let's just trash it, start from scratch, we'll start a new thing and get everyone on the new thing, right?
Yeah, but
And
also the Koreans are just racist. I mean, let's be fair. They badmouth anybody who's not Korean constantly. It's just what they do. If you spend any time paying attention to Korean game developers or anything in Korea, it's outrageous, dude. They're so angsty people. I don't know what their problem is. Freaking relax. But that's just the way they are. And they really much prefer not to offer anything out to the outside world. They've kind of gotten like this. Remember when we had with Black Desert, Bless, and all those things like that, and other things coming forward, they just would rather not sell you anything. They're in no rush to give the West anything at all, dude. The Korean, when we're talking specifically about the Koreans, I don't know if this is some kind of they're in a bad moment of time. I don't know what it is, but that's what they're doing. And I think that's part of it. I know people usually won't mention that, but I really feel that as part of that being over here. But you also take there's another thing going on, Ben, because the Asians in general, and I don't mean the Japanese. Japanese are not Asian. Just take them out of the equation when I use that word. Or Oriental would be a better use of the word, I suppose. But when it comes to Koreans and Chinese, they don't have trouble with loot boxes at all. It's not a thing to them. They don't. They're like, why are you? For them, it's completely normal. They don't
Right.
care. So that's
Yes.
another issue because we
Gambling
have a problem.
addictions are a serious problem for Asian people. You're right.
No, it is. No, it is. It is. But I'm just saying that you don't ever hear any whining about loot boxes over here in with the the Orientals. Like I said, Japan's not really part of the conversation. So Japanese don't need to play the same kind of games anyway. But it is weird because I do pay close attention to it because I can go and play a Korean MMO or a Chinese MMO. I can and I do. One of the most gorgeous game ever made, in my opinion, so far to this point is Moonlight Blade. Was a Chinese game you cannot play outside of China because basically fuck off foreigner, right? They don't care. They don't need you, right? And they I guess they really don't, to be honest, to make their money. But Moonlight Blade, there's never been a game that is as beautiful as that so far. I'm anticipating Crimson Desert or something like that coming forward might be greater than it. But have you guys ever seen Moonlight Blade? You ever seen a video on it? It's insane, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. I would trust. Let's see. Let me list the things I would trust over a promise from Blizzard Entertainment. Joe Biden
Oh
to
wow.
not
Were they already
not
are
have
we yeah.
dementia. We're going in deep.
Yeah.
To not have dementia. Uh, Hunter Biden to not fuck underage whores. Let's see. Any of the Trumps to not be cokeheads besides Donald, because I actually think he is straight edge like he claims.
No, he's
Um,
Adderall. He's not a cokehead.
yeah,
He's Adderall.
probably Adderall. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would make sense. And then let's see what else. I would trust any
Well,
Chinese mega structure, any of them. I would literally jump up and down on there all day long before I would trust anything Blizzard has to say about
aw.
promises.
Now that last one's not even fair. But no, no. Donald lost his brother to drugs, alcohol, I think. And
He did.
yeah, he's very, very serious about those things. Yeah.
But I don't trust Blizzard as far as I can throw them. They've been saying they're going to change, they're going to change, they're going to do this, they're going to do that for 10 years at least, and they haven't. They haven't done a
No.
single thing that they promised to do as far as like community engagement and things. So far, this next expansion of WoW, they do seem to be, but we'll see. Um, it takes a lot of. It's going to take a whole hell of a lot for them to convince me and a lot of people to ever
Well,
trust them again.
when Microsoft finally gets ownership, though, will that change your mind? Because I mean,
No.
Microsoft has had its problems with computer entertainment. Let's be fair, they have.
Yes.
But it's never been the accusations of penny pinching us. That's never been the problem. For them, it's
Well, they don't
development
need.
and stuff. Well, they don't need it. But when Microsoft does finally take over, and actually be in charge, will that change your mind?
No.
Okay.
Because here's why. The structure at Blizzard, unless they come in and they get out of Axlov and they just start hacking away executives at the top, tippy top of the company, then maybe I'll believe them.
Oh, that's
Because the
standard
reason the
operating
way the
procedure.
company
Yeah, it
is,
is.
the
Yeah.
reason the way it is now is those people, is the people at the top. What happened was they used to be ran by game developers. They used to be ran by gamers. Now they're run by penny pinchers. Now they're run by financialists that only care
Yeah.
about the bottom line.
It's kind of the way it goes,
So
And
isn't
that
it?
is
Yeah.
why all of their games suck. All of them. They haven't put out a good game in 10 years, at least. The Diablo Immortal was okay, but compared to Blizzard of 10 years ago, it was trash. When they did that Warcraft 3 Reforged was an absolute abomination.
That
The
was
fact that they even put
uh,
that out was embarrassing. Embarrassing.
that was a slip, for sure. Yeah.
So
The
so
last
I
time World of Warcraft was good was Legion, and that was 7 years ago now. Wait, 2015, I think. Yeah, 7 years ago now. It's been a long time since Blizzard has done anything that was above okay. They used to be su- 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 supreme at all times. They just used to nail it every time
Yeah.
because they waited, they took their time, and they built something that mattered. Now, that doesn't mean everything was always perfect. The launch Diablo 2 sucked, the launch of WoW sucked. They weren't great, but the
Smooth
stuff
as
that was
hell
under
though,
the
dude.
hood,
Like butter.
yes, the stuff that was under the hood was really good. All they had to do was tweak it a little bit to get it running down the road better. And that's exactly what they did. They're not the same company anymore. They when they got bought by Activision, well, they merged. They got bought by Activision. Activision came in and said, "No, listen, all we really care about is the money," as Activision does. And they slowly but surely literally took features out of, like, say, WoW, and then gave them back to you in 2 expansions and expected you to be happy. No.
Right.
What?
What wasn't
No,
that all
I don't
owned
think
by
so.
Tencent though?
What, Activision?
Yeah.
I don't think I think they're largely owned. I don't think they're totally owned.
Well, I mean, now they've been sold. It's been sold, but well, it's in the
Yes.
process. But Ben, didn't it wasn't Activision acquired by Tencent?
something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So so I got a little I got a little inside information about this. Don't need to go into the details of why. Thundero in chat, you guys know exactly why. So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
uh, but the reality is that what Microsoft is looking for from this, and it's not looking for Blizzard precisely. It's more the all up. They are trying to get more exclusives because the big problem that they're having in the competition with Sony is that Sony, hardware wise, the two are pretty on par, right? You can get down into the nitty gritties of the
Yeah,
binaries, but from an overall hardware perspective, they're pretty on par, right? The benefit has always been that Xbox has always had a stronger infrastructure for online play, and Sony has had better exclusives, right? Well, the Sony infrastructure has actually been getting a lot better because they had that massive outage a while ago, and the Sony execs were like, "Well, fuck, we got to figure out how to actually do infrastructure around our online play, right?"
right. I
And
remember
so,
that. Yeah,
yeah, it was bad. They were down for weeks and weeks and weeks, right? And Microsoft has just had a very long time of figuring out their infrastructure for online play, and they've just done it better than Sony. So the Sony online play has gotten a lot better as a result of that outage, right? So, Microsoft is like, well, shit, like their hardware is on par. They're crisping up their online play. Like we're behind the eight ball because we don't have as many exclusives, right? Because if you look at Sony, they have God of War, Last of Us, Uncharted. Like they got this whole robust library of exclusives, right? So Microsoft is fishing for exclusives, right? And all of this is about beefing up their exclusive library for the Xbox and PC market, right? And so from what I understand, they're not really shopping around for microtransactions per se because that's just to beef up a portion of play from one thing. They're looking at a much more holistic, overarching, we're trying to create a very big library, a very big exclusive model that people can say, oh, I want to go to Xbox because of they have X, Y, or Z, right?
yeah, it makes
And
sense.
so on top of that, there is a much longer history of corporatism of maintaining a clean corporate environment at Microsoft, and of course there's been incidents and stuff like that, but they're going to come and clean house at Blizzard, right? Blizzard already has a very bad public image because of all the stuff that happened. And it is very common in these instances that when they get bought out, they go clean house. They
Yeah,
fire all the executives or replace them in other locations, and they just start a top down house cleaning to kind of push the refresh button on everything,
Here's
right?
what I want them to do. I want them to do that, obviously, because it desperately needs to happen. That company has been stagnant for, like I said, a decade. and they have all kinds of legal problems. But I want them to also then go find some of these guys. They're not dead. They're still out there. Throw a
Right.
bunch of money at them and get them to come back and build Blizzard back up. They're going to need at least one. At least
Right.
one of the big names from Blizzard's past. They're going
Yeah.
to need them,
No,
and
I
they
agree.
have to know that.
Right. And my point is like I think these are all good things that are going to happen, but I always say, the proof is in the pudding. I don't care if they
Yep.
make all the right moves for cleaning house. Show me a good product. You
Hmm.
only get credit when you make a good product. You don't get credit for effort. Everyone's making an effort. You get the same thing that I have about the guy over at Warner and Discovery doing cleaning house. That's great, but you have to make a good product, and he has yet to make a product. He's just cleaning up all the other product is. So let's see
Yep,
what he
that's true.
does first before we judge how awesome and 3D chess he's playing with all the moves that he's
Yeah,
doing, right? Because he
we're going to talk about that today. I don't know. I don't know how awesome it is. I'm wondering if he's going a bit too far. But yeah, no, I get your point though. And the thing with Blizzard here, we know they're desperately need some kind of intervention. It's quite clear,
right.
like Ezra Miller needs intervention, and Microsoft is a good choice for that. But I just wondering, Ben, do you know who the bosses are of Microsoft Entertainment? Do you know who they are?
Yes. I
Okay.
mean, I can find out who they are.
Well,
What?
I mean, yeah, I know you're not directly connected to that. I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
curious. But no, I mean, those guys must be irked, dude, with what's going on. They must be irked because they're in the middle of an acquisition and all this nonsense is going on, right?
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's because it's just more mess that needs to be cleaned up, right? But
yeah,
like to be fair, it gives them further fuel to come in with a flamethrower. And for those wondering what that looks like, for those of you who have never been through it, because I've been through it a couple times now, the way it works is it's usually top down, right? So the guys like on the ground, like doing the actual like dev work and stuff like that, they tend to be okay, right? They might if there's trimming of headcount, they might get like certain packages because they don't fire them. It's a whole like package. You get a certain amount of like X number of months of pay and stuff like that. But it's generally a cleaning house at the upper executive level because we consider all of the problems like this to be a top down problem, not a bottom up problem, right?
sure,
Because
of course.
it's yeah, culture of this nature is perceived to come from top down, and so that's where they do the trimming first and
Right.
foremost,
I mean,
right?
even if it is your underlings that are making noise and you're acquiescing to them, it doesn't matter. You're the one who acquiesced, right?
Correct.
So yeah, no,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
absolutely 100% true. Uh,
Yeah.
but uh, yeah, no. So it'll be really interesting next year to see what goes on with Blizzard, because I know there's a lot to complain about, but once again, I will continually be the devil's advocate. I can't name another company that has mechanically a smoother gameplay. Blizzard games work really, really well. Now, I understand we've had some missteps from them for sure, but mechanically, those games are super smooth. You can't say anything near the same about Bethesda, right? Like every damn release of Bethesda is always wonky
Oh,
and busted, right? And it gets
yeah.
there.
Yeah. And I mean, like everyone loves Skyrim now, but Skyrim's been out for like 15 years at this point or something crazy, right?
Yeah,
Like
but
of
come
course.
on.
Yeah.
Daggerfall, Morrowind,
Yeah.
Oblivion,
Love
Skyrim.
them.
Which one is
Oh, no.
best?
I love all of my children equally and differently.
Well, no, Morrowind is the best, dude. Come on. As far as gameplay
Daggerfall.
and
Daggerfall.
functionality, Morrowind is the best. Oblivion was less, and Skyfall is certainly the worst of the four by far.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people have just glommed onto it, and the modding community. And I'm actually this is something I don't know much about because I'm not a modder, and I don't really use much mods. But the modding community has feels to me came up out of the Skyrim thing. It was
Oh,
Skyrim that made it what it is today, and those modders today are wow, dude. I mean, it's
they gave
impressive.
it legs. The only reason the game has stayed alive for as long as it has is because it has such a rich modding community that keeps it alive. right?
Yeah.
So without the modding community, that thing would have been out of the cultural zeitgeist like years ago.
Yeah, but was
Mm.
it that game, Skyrim, that made the modding community what it is today? Is that the truth?
No, well, I mean, when you say the
No.
modding community, are you talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
at large, like, in
At
general?
large, yeah,
No,
at large, yeah, yeah.
no, the modding community has always been around. Now, what was different in regards to Skyrim is that there was a very large embracing because modding a game is all dependent on how easy the developers make it to mod, right? These are getting into what they call SDK, software development kits, where a game comes out and says, here's how you start tweaking our shit. Here's how you start making development or changes to our code to change a model, change a graphic, change an animation, blah, 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 right? So different games have different level of support, and some games come out with a lot of support because they realize that that's what gives them legs, is that if there's a strong modding community, it will keep the game alive longer. And the difference for Bethesda was they were very embracing of the modders in
Which
that
is
they
smart.
were totally smart, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
Devilish said Oblivion had a lot of mods too. So where did
yeah,
this whole modding thing begin? Where did the modding community come out of? Where's it coming from?
I mean, the modding community has always been part of video games as long as there's been PCs because the people who were playing the games the most in the beginning were people who were coding and stuff. And so it was always fun to kind of like crack open the code and maybe just insert cheats just to make the games go faster sometimes. But then cheats turn into modifications, and then modifications turn into like whole rewriting of games sometimes, right? And
Yeah.
so I would say you can't point to like I think like a patient zero per se. I think that it's just been alive as part of like games being out in general.
Oh,
That
okay.
there's always
All right.
been a modding community of
Because
some
I
sort.
didn't really start hearing about it until around Skyrim personally, but then I'm the last person to ask about stuff like that. But it does make me think a lot about the BlackRock guys who, well, they basically remade the entire Half-Life game, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. Have you seen what those guys have done?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, putting on, new window dressing, right? But it makes the game look just stellar, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
modern engine and stuff like that. But this goes to show, and it's such a good way to start getting your feet in wet, as far as like making games, right? Because video game development is one of the few areas still that has a very rich independent like indie scene that you can make decent money at, right? It's well, supported by Steam and other areas
Hmm.
where you can make an indie game. Like, I'll give you a great example of that. Have you ever heard of Phasmophobia?
Mm-mm.
It's this
Yes.
amazing like multiplayer like horror game where you go and you're investigating ghosts, but the ghosts like become violent and like try to kill you, and it's multiplayers and stuff like that. Was developed by a dude, like just one dude like made the game, right? And he was just kind of like doing it, on his own and stuff like that. And it blew up, and he made billions off of this thing. And he has a more robust development team now, but it was just a dude, right? Another great example is the game Among Us, which is a very popular game. And that was just made by like three people. And
Yeah.
again, millions and millions of dollars,
Yeah,
right? So,
small, and that's a very small poly package as well. What is that, like a gig?
oh yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
and
it's
it and the thing is like Among Us is like it's not even like graphics intensive. It's just cartoon, but like the gameplay is so robust and unique from what people had ever played before
mhm.
that it made the game so much more immersive and a lot of fun, and again gave it a lot of legs and stuff, right? But there's like this gatekeeping around so many industries that it can feel hard to break into, right?
Mhm.
But video games is one of those ones where if you've got a good idea and you've got some knowledge of what you're doing, you can make a product, and that product can blow up and make you a lot of money. It's not guaranteed to do so, but that's
Mhm.
still an area where you can make some bones on.
Yeah. Well, Devilish is saying that even the original Doom had a big modding scene. I didn't even know that.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and that's way back in college years for me. Yeah, no, I just don't know much about it. But anyway, I don't want to get too far away from the storyline here. This is, of course, a lie. Blizzard is going to penny pinch you. That's what they're doing. So me
Yeah.
personally, I wouldn't buy anything Blizzard until Microsoft has had its chance to adjust things. Me personally, I wouldn't put any
2025
money.
minimum.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. I wouldn't touch any of this. And it's a shame because the game does look good. And like I said, Blizzard mechanics are really good. But
Yep.
I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't go anywhere near it because you're just going to be frustrated, dude. So just kind of let it be. Anyway, let's move on from this story. It's a good story though.
And it's a shame because Diablo is one of my favorite universes that they've ever made, and they don't do anywhere near enough with it. They do a lot of stuff with Warcraft, mainly because it makes them money.
Yeah.
But Diablo is right there. It's a huge. I mean, Diablo 3 is one of the top 10 biggest games of all time
Oh yeah,
in
sure.
sales
Yeah, it was a good game too.
products. So
And they had the movie come out with the World of Warcraft movie, and it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. I'm kind of want more, but it doesn't look like we're going to get any more.
I've heard they're working on basically just ignoring that one and starting again
What was wrong
and
with that
making one
one? It
from
was fun.
it didn't make enough money for them over here. It made a ton of money in China. Like it
Made
was
a lot of
profitable.
money in China. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, but you gotta. Here's the thing with box office. You go to something like Box Office Mojo and you look at that. Go down, look at the worldwide gain. Their overall money it made worldwide. Cut that in half, and that's probably what the studio ended up with. That's the easiest way to look at it,
Yep.
because they make more domestically, way more than they do internationally. But when you kind of mix it all together, just cut that number in half, and that's what they put in their pocket. And keep in mind, whatever their proclaimed budget is, which they're never honest about it, but whatever that proclaimed budget is, add 50% of it to itself, and that's the cost, around the cost they spend for it. And this way,
Of
you can
everything.
look
Yeah.
at economics of the economic success of the movie here or there.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, using that model that you've just painted, like they've lost money on it,
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah, no, I didn't know that. Yeah, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
is because I haven't really looked at the economics of. I hardly look at economics when it comes to movies. But I just for me, it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I got nothing to complain about really.
I mean, it
yeah, I
was
liked it too.
just like the video games, right? So,
Yeah, it was similar enough. Yeah, it was fine.
mm,
Now I know it didn't make the kind of money as something like a Top Gun Maverick made, but that's my God. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus, that's you're talking about.
The big problem they had was they started at the wrong spot. I understand why they did it, but they should have just used that storyline for a prologue and then jumped right into Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 is the most popular. It's the one everybody knows. It jumps right into the game into WoW, and it has the best characters in the whole lore.
Yeah,
All of them,
but
all in one.
as an introduction to the general audience, the mundanes who don't know anything about World of Warcraft, I thought it was just fine. I mean, there was nothing really wrong with it. It's a good popcorn film. There's not
Yeah,
really much to complain about. I mean, is there anything
I like it. My
glaring?
wife, my wife really liked it too, and she's not a big nerd in that regard. Like she doesn't like WoW or anything like that. So, but she really liked it. She was surprised they weren't going to make another one.
I like the half orc girl. She was cool.
Garona.
Well, she was sexy. It's hard to be sexy when you're an orc, you know. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. We got to go to the next story here. And this one's pretty interesting too.
Gotham Knights creative team says Batman killed off because his presence would have detracted from the game's story.
Okay. Let me kind of give you a summary of this article, and then you guys can lay into it. This article basically is an interview with the creator, the boss, the guy in charge of the whole project. And this thing is coming. There's lots of articles talking about this thing. Every week we see something about this. I just don't cover it. But killing off Batman, not having him there because he would take all the air out of the room or whatever. Fine. Fine. I don't care. This isn't canon. It's a video game. So they could do whatever they want, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong, right? If you have Batman is off somewhere else and he's occasionally coming on the comms and talking to you, you're just going to be like, well, why can't I play Batman? I get it. So I don't have a problem with that. The reason I put this story here is this: if you go and read through the whole interview, which I'm not going to do, but I'm just going to tell you what the general gist of it is. These guys are so worried about every little complaint that they're trying to address every damn complaint. And there is a group which I know you've never heard of because I've never heard of it, and it doesn't make any sense, called the Ableist Gamer. Okay. And the Ableist Gamers group, they've complained very hard because Barbara is walking around being Batgirl again. Why? Excuse me. And they're like, yeah, well, we said that she fixed herself through hard work and she's got a special technological back brace and she worked hard and that's not good enough. She's disabled. And they got all mad and pissed off about it. And they've changed her backstory in the game. And they're like, oh, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. And every little complaint that they're just simply on their knees, bowing to every little teeny complaint that comes at them. And for me personally, it's like, why would you do that? You're making a video game. Make your damn video game. Shut up. Say, hey, I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. Well, I understand your complaint, but try it out. Maybe you'll like it. Something like that, the way you actually sell a game. And just shut the hell up and put your game out. But oh no, they are so sensitive. Oh, we're so sorry. We'll do it. We really appreciate your opinion. And honestly, how big does anyone here think the Ableist Gamers Group is? Huh?
Oh,
Now,
it's
I
got to be big.
understand if you're handicapped in a wheelchair, sitting at home playing video games is a viable option. It is. But I mean, honestly, the absolute simpering from this fucking developer, dude. Oh my God.
Well, the thing that's weird is that, like you said, there's like in story explanation, like technology and stuff that she's using.
Yep.
Like we've had this before. Like Geordie LaForge, represented the blind, but he had a visor and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And I don't know. It's weird. You know what, Thundera? It reminds me. It reminds me of that meme I sent you about like the circle jerk, right? That there's no winning at a certain point. Like it just becomes a big
Correct.
merry-go-round.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
that
and
that
that's
that's
really all it is.
disgusting, Ben. I just want you to know.
Well, there is no winning in a circle jerk. That's true. But also, that's exactly what it is. There's no pleasing these people. They're miserable for various reasons. Some of it might be physical disabilities, and that sucks. But you get to control, unless there's something actually wrong with your brain, you get to control your outlook on life. Stop being miserable. Just tell yourself to stop being miserable. That's really that simple. You just got to keep doing it. When it comes back, say, hey, knock it off. Tell yourself that. Do it out loud if you have to. Just keep reminding yourself that you don't have to feel that way. You can control it. If you can program your brain to believe all kinds of nonsense, even some sense things that are just crazy and fantastical, you can program it to feel the feelings you want it to feel. That's the truth. But people don't want to hear it because there's not any money in it. The money's in selling people a bunch of drugs they probably don't actually need. Stop telling yourself you're miserable. Stop living in that moment, whatever it was that made you feel that way. Move on, take care of yourself, love yourself, and tell yourself you're better than whatever it is that makes you feel that way. Even if it's a physical ailment,
Yeah.
even if it's a disability, you're not that. You're more than that, and you can be more than that. And these people need to hear that, but they won't listen.
You do
And
realize
because
that.
they're miserable bastards in their own heart. They project that out onto everybody else.
Yeah, no, that's true. But you do realize you can't enlighten a woke tard.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
maybe other people who haven't fully been succumbed to the virus can be saved from the
yeah.
misery of this what's the word I'm looking for? This narcissistic self-isolation that they do in their own minds and hearts.
Well, it's entitlement, of course.
Yep,
And I know that people complain about things all the time, particularly in the way America is the land of complaining. It just has
that's right.
become that. It wasn't that way when I was a kid, but it certainly is that now. Matter of fact, when I was a kid, complaining was rather shunned. It was looked down upon. But not now. Oh my! I don't care about the able gamers community or wherever it is. I give a shit. Of course, they're whining and bitching. It's all they live to do. But I'm talking about the developer, dude. That's what I'm on about because it's like people are going to make their complaints and they're going to yell and scream about every little thing. I mean, everyone does it, including us over here. Right, or always make I do it for more because I think it's funny, but nevertheless, it's still what the zeitgeist is. However, as a developer, man, you can't get yourself bogged down into that nonsense. You can't. And what do you want? I mean, you don't want to have Barbara in the game? I mean, if I had to choose a game that wasn't going to have Batman and was going to have Bat Family involved, and I only had to choose four, who do you choose? I mean, honestly, let's look at it. Who do we choose? The Bat Family's pretty big. We only get four. No Batman. Who do we choose? Ben first.
Dick Grayson.
The Nightwing. Absolutely. Thundero.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Nightwing every time.
Well, the second.
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one
Well,
because
second
it's
for me is
honestly,
Batgirl, without question. No
yeah, I
question,
would say you're
Batgirl.
right. Yeah, Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara.
I it's
Yeah.
hard for me because Nightwing is Dick Grayson has been so maligned that he doesn't get that spotlight he deserves for so long.
Yeah. But we know
So
better. We know better. It's definitely Nightwing is certainly first. In my opinion,
yes,
Barbara is second. Right? Who's third?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
One of the Robins probably.
I
One
would
of the
go
other
Red
ones.
Robin. I don't want Damian Wayne's. Damian.
No, I don't like him much either.
I
But
don't
yeah,
either, but I think he's popular enough that it would make sense.
it would. It would make sense. You're right. But no, not Jason Todd. The other one. What's the other one's name?
Tim Drake.
Tim Drake. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
definitely.
I
He's
couldn't
probably
remember his name
three.
either.
Um, and then the fourth one could go multiple ways. Me personally, I would throw Batwing in there. Not because I need a POC in there, just because I really like that character. But although he wouldn't deserve it, to be fair, it would
It
have
is
to be Jason
weird.
Todd.
It is weird that they're throwing in Red Hood in here because he's not a hero,
No,
right?
he's not. Yeah, Jason
And
Todd. Yeah.
so I think that like and again that is the irony that we do a lot of complaining on this channel, right? And we are saying don't listen to the complainers on this, right?
Well, no,
Um,
and they shouldn't. I mean, they
no, I
shouldn't.
agree. Um,
But I'm just saying, looking at it,
yeah,
Barbara Gordon, picking whatever four you pick, Barbara Gordon as Batgirl is absolutely in the list. There's no
yeah.
question where you put her.
Yep,
Of course, she's there. So if you're
yep.
going to put a timeline that is set after she's become Oracle, what else are you going to do? You can't not have Batgirl. It's impossible, dude. It's so stupid. And it shows me these people don't know comic books at all. At
Well,
all.
and here's the weird thing because like let's get into the meta of this for a little bit, right? So let's say that they kowtow and they say, okay, well, we're not going to have her, go through rehabilitation and use whatever technology. That means she's not a character to play anymore, right? And so
No.
now you're taking away the representation because
Yep.
this is where like we come to the casualties of our decision making and our whining, right? So like, okay, well, okay, we're gonna have to put her in the wheelchair. Um, can't really have her swinging around Gotham anymore and stuff like that, right? Because of a result of that, right? So
Well, they
now we
did
got to
that in
replace.
Arkham, right? She was a useful thing you interacted with, right? Like
Right,
the yeah.
but she wasn't like a character to play, right? She was the
No.
voice in your head sometimes.
Right.
So you're effectively like downgrading her immersiveness and interaction, right? So like
Right.
you're so like it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? There's no right answer here.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree 100%. It's just not that there is a right answer. Put a back brace on her and make her Batgirl again. That's the answer, and that's what they did. And they should have just said, well, we wanted to have Batgirl in the game. She's essential to the Bat universe, and we really hope you try our game. I understand you're complaining, but give it a try. You might like it anyway. Which is how you do that. You don't simper. I mean, the simpering out of this dude, who is, I don't even know his fucking name. I don't want to know his name. Fuck off, dude. The simpering of this guy to these assholes is ridiculous.
No,
It's just on and on. You go read this article. He's just on and on. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, we were horrible people.
you,
That's exactly how it fucking reads, dude.
you have to outwoke them. That's the only way the answer. You have to like punch through them and be like, well, here we believe that representation matters and that we didn't want to sideline a major character with a disability, so we, like outwoke the
Oh, see?
wokeness, right?
See, that would have been good too. Yeah, I like that too. I'm more of the just don't answer the question and promote your game type of approach, but that would have worked too. Yeah. But it's not what they did. And this isn't the only article. I just picked this one because it was the most the outrageous to me. But they
Right.
are simpering left and right. These guys. I don't even know who they are. I don't even know their name. It just it irritated me so much. Let me see here. The Gotham Knights production team. Does it tell me what company is doing this? Not probably, but I don't give a shit. Fuck off. Because the thing is, having a narrative story that doesn't have Batman is not a problem. Having these four members that you could play and following their storylines, and you can even do multiplayer sounds fun, doesn't it? Sounds good. And
Sounds good to me.
this isn't as dumb as that stupid little card game they're trying to sell as an actual video game over at Marvel. For fuck
Hey,
God,
it's full player too, right? So it's not just like two players. Like you can have a bunch of people, and that's, I mean, people have been
yeah.
kind of asking for that, like a Arkham style game in which you can have more than one player. Like this is what people have been asking for, right? So
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm. Now, to be
I'm
fair, I'm not
surprised they
really happy
never
with the
did it.
design. I'm not happy with design. Anyway, go ahead, Thunder.
I'm surprised they never did it with the other Arkham games. They had multiple games they could have thrown in
Yeah,
a competent co-op mode.
yeah.
Nightwing was in more than one of them, so you could have easily had Bruce and Nightwing doing some things. I don't
Oh
know.
no, you could
I
have.
don't know
Yeah,
why
wonder
they.
if they have some kind of multiplayer co-op mode, like as like a side thing, not for the main story, but like as a
I
side
don't
thing.
recall it having that. No, I don't recall that. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't remember to be honest with you, but that's what I have been advocating for it for a long time. Gaming, one of the reasons gaming sucks is because it's so insular now. Even multiplayer games are insular as hell, and it's ridiculous. What happened to co-op? Why are so many big games coming out without co-op? Why?
because it's hard to
You know
do.
how much
Maybe.
fun gaming used to be when you could sit next to your buddy and just play? You guys remember LAN parties? I used to go to them all the time.
Oh yeah.
They were fun. Why is that being phased out? I'll tell you why, because they can't make money off
I've never
it. And
been
it's
to a
again
LAN
the
party.
same problem. Well, you should have been, Chester, especially in Japan. You should
Yeah,
have
no
been.
I
kidding.
wasn't in Japan when those things started. And by the time I got here, it was
Yeah,
defunct.
this
Because you,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
No, a really good example of that, Thundero. I'm a big fan of the Tales games, Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Vesperia.
Yeah,
They have good local player co-op, and through Steam, they have couch co-op where only one person needs to own the game. The other one can hook into the game and play with their own controller and stuff. And they're
yep,
tons of fun to play, and you can play up to four players on those. And when they came out the newest one, Tales of Arise, and they said no multiplayer, I was like, well, then you're not getting my fucking money. Because I
yeah,
got every one of the Tales games on Steam purely because I can play with my friends on those. And when they said there's no multiplayer, I was like, well, you took away every single reason to get a cent from me. So I haven't. I have all the other Tales games, and that brand new one, which looks cool, fun, and it looks like a good story. I just want to play a multiplayer, so I'm not buying it.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a serious problem. Hopefully, that's going to change. I hope, but I don't see any real sign of it from a lot of these companies. They're all have so many of them have abandoned even the concept of being able to just play the game co-op. It would have been awesome to be able to play some of the Arkham games with another person. That would have been so much fun, especially the first one with how stealthy you had to be through a lot of
Yeah,
it. You could do
yeah,
some
it
really
could have
cool
been
stuff
fun.
with
Yeah,
that.
they would have
Around
had.
Gotham, everybody, yeah, tons of
Yeah,
fun.
they
Yeah,
would have had to change the infrastructure probably quite a bit to do that. But no, I agree, and I'm kind of curious, Ben, from a computing, because we do complain about this penny pinching, but then again, making video games is very expensive. We're talking millions of dollars, right? It is expensive. However, I know some companies will be stubborn, but does the Unreal 5 engine, which seems absolutely phenomenal, and it's easy to hire workers to work on it, will the Unreal engine, this particularly Unreal 5, will this make video game creation cheaper, you think?
Yes, because All right, buckle up for a little history. The way it's typically worked in video game making back in the old days was that you had to create your own engine, right? So if you
You're
go
right.
back and you can hear like the engines that they use for like making like Neverwinter's Nights or the old Baldur's Gates and stuff like that, right? But
Frost
now
engine. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is akin to like the problem that they used to have with like video cards that like every video card had to be programmed to like every game, and then what they did was they came out with the universal like source code for like DirectX 3D or what have you, and what was the other one? OpenGL. Where they said, program your game to this code, and this is the code that will be used by the video game, the video cards, and that just smoothed everything over, right? So then you didn't have to program your game to operate with every single video card. You could program to a universal language, right? So now there are companies like Unreal who like we make the engine that other companies use. They license the engine. You can license Unreal. You can actually buy their software development kit. And this goes back to what I was talking about, right? They have a very robust software development kit. They have a ton of support. You can easily license it from a commercial license, and use it for your games. And depending on the type of license you have with them, they'll give you like coding support and stuff. It does make things a lot easier from a development cycle perspective, right? Where you do get stuck is if there's something you're trying to do with your game that isn't directly supported or easily supported within the engine, that's where you kind of get a little, it gets a little tougher because you got to have to like crack the engine a little bit. But we see this like all over the place, right? Even within like there's like visual novels games on Steam all over the place. They use RenPy, right?
Right.
There's and there's like the RPG Maker that a lot of different other games use, right? So having just
Unity.
yeah, having a engine that you license that then the engine itself has a robust community around, a robust like field of documentation around, so you can kind of figure your way through problems and support around does make things a lot easier from a development cycle. And it's also what like equips a lot of the indie developers. Going back full circle to what I was talking about is having these resources makes it a lot easier for indie developers to license an engine, have a very small development team, and get a product out.
Yeah, no, I think so. Because I know that I've been, past few years, I've been messing around with Blender,
Yep.
Unity, and I know I took a look at the Unreal Engine 5. I never looked at it before, and it's not that different from Unity. It's very user friendly for, especially for
Yep.
people like me who are not really coders. You don't need to code so much, although Unity's probably easier than 5, I would assume. But nevertheless, a person like me, I could take Blender. I could take Unreal Engine 5. I could spend a few $1,000s on skins, and I can make a video game.
Yeah, I think the big thing that they changed that was very conducive to non-programmers was the storyboarding coding, right? Where rather
Right,
than get into binary things, and they have this in Unity and they have this in Unreal, where you look at it from like a decision tree perspective of
right.
do this and have this, right?
Yeah, no, I
So
still think Unity's easier if you have no coding skills at all. But I have been studying it for a while that I could certainly use Unreal Engine 5 because I've been looking at it. And the 4, I'm a bit more wary about. I would stick to Unity. But I'm just
you
saying,
you
if a person like me, and I mean, I'm not that dude, I am not that
yeah.
dude. I could make a game using it. Therefore, someone who's really trained in it, man, it's got to be cheaper.
And if you want a really good example of how this works, there's a great YouTube channel about a dude kind of on a mission from like just a dude. He's just by himself. He doesn't have a whole lot of help. He will sometimes like get someone to like license out like someone to make a model or something for him. But
Mm.
he's remaking the Simpsons driving game. What was it?
Yeah.
I forget what it is, but it's Simpsons Road Rage or something like that, or Hit and Run. He's remaking Hit and Run, and so and he's making it. I think he's making it in Unreal. But you watch him like go through it, and he shows like how he like codes certain things. And again, you're not getting into actual like coding
No,
traditionally.
no.
It's that decision tree thing where you're like it's a
Hmm.
storyboarding thing where like do this, and this. Like the mechanics like work out like from like a decision tree perspective and not actual like
Yeah.
the binaries of
Well,
the code and stuff, right?
let me explain it to the listeners, and I think it's good to have me explain it more than you because,
Sure.
I'm not you, right, when it comes to this. But what you get is these little blocks, right? It's literally a rectangle, square box. And in that box, you can make various decisions about whatever that is. It could be a character, it could be a lighting, it could be whatever situation you need in the environment, right? And you create that box and you create a whole bunch of other boxes for every other thing that's in the environment. You don't have to create every single solitary lamp. You create one box for all the lighting or all the
Correct.
lamps or all the whatever. And that which is very convenient, I imagine, because back in the old day you had to code every damn thing. Jesus Christ. But although click and paste probably did exist, but nevertheless, and then you
Absolutely.
take those boxes and you literally are putting them together off of a core so that they're interacting. And there's literally a little wire that comes out and connects to your little box as you move it around the screen. So you literally have a box with everything you just created in it connecting to all your other boxes, which is sitting on a core, which everything is interacting with. That's how you create in Unity and Unreal Engine as well. I imagine all of them are like that now. And that is, you can do that, dude. That's not hard.
Yeah. No, it's meant to be a lot easier for people who don't get into the nuts and because I've done like hardcore coding, right?
Oh, sure.
You're getting into your hash tables, your for each loops, and all sorts of stuff, and it can get real ugly and stuff. But no, it is a lot easier for people who aren't into that depth of things, and to just focus on making a quality product, right? You're focusing on making games rather than focusing on like fighting with code.
Right. And so I just really think that like I said, Unity is limited in its processing power, I would say. But it is easier. But this Unreal Engine 5 is much easier than the last one. They've improved it a lot because I looked at it before and my brain hurt and I left. But I went back and looked at it and I was like, okay, I can do this. So it's got to be cheaper. But I'm just wondering how many companies are going to simply bite that bullet and just embrace it and go with it and save themselves money and heartache. Because, like, for a good example, Ashes
Oh,
of Creation, right? Ashes of Creation is the most anticipated MMO maybe ever, even more than Bless, I would say. And it's excessively ambitious, ridiculously ambitious, to the point that everyone was very skeptical. But over the past 6 months, they've been showing us that no, 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 we're doing exactly what we said we're going to do. And one of the decisions they made was to switch over to Unreal Engine 5 because of this exact point we're making. The ease of it, it's going to save them money. They can get more workers in easier, et cetera, et cetera. And Ashes of Creation, we all have our fingers crossed for it in the MMO world, has made that smart, I think, smart choice. And I'm just wondering how many companies will do that because a lot of companies, they seem to have a lot of pride. Like Bethesda, well, what is Bethesda's engine there? Um, what's the engine that Bethesda's been using forever and they refuse to update it?
yeah, that old thing. Yeah, I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but
Oh,
yeah, I know.
it's on the tip of my tongue, but it's a good example because I think Bethesda would benefit from doing that shift because it's not just about having a very useful system; it's about ease of use, ease of hire, right? Because I imagine that even though they're hiring coders, they're hiring actual professionals, it must take a couple of weeks to get used to their system. You would think, just even
It's
for a
the creation
pro.
engine.
What was that?
Creation engine.
The
The
creation engine,
creation.
yeah. But they refuse to update that because it's expensive to create a new engine, I would assume. I would assume.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering how many companies are going to bite over into that because, another thing looking at this game right here, I've looked at some of the gameplay, I looked at the costume design, and it's not great. This game is not, what are we, fifth generation? This is not fifth generation gaming, this game we're looking at here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah. I just I'm kind of curious of what if we're going to see a cascade effect of a lot of companies just dropping on, because like I said, I've seen some, like the Ashes of Creation guys have done so, and I think and I applaud them for it.
Keep
Uh,
keep in mind when it comes to like the Unreal Engine, it doesn't get used for like video games. Like this is used for like TV and movie making, right?
production, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so like the Unreal Engine was used for all of the modern like Star Wars stuff they do on Disney Plus because I forget the name of it. They created this like giant bubble. I think they call it like the quiet or the silence or something like that, but it's this like stage thing where rather than using green screen, they have this giant bubble of LED screens and they create the environments in Unreal. So that way people are like feel like they're actually in the thing. So they're not acting against a green screen and they use that as part of the filmmaking. So they don't have to go back and like repaint people and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
they use the Unreal Engine as part of like movie making, television series, stuff like that. It gets used for like all sorts of stuff.
Well, because it is and Unity's this way too. But just Unreal Engine 5 is all the visual power is way beyond Unity, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm telling you, if I put my nose down and I put a year into it, I could do Unreal Engine 5 and work in a company doing it. I know I could, just from my initial looking at it. It's definitely within my wheelhouse to be able to make that happen. And that shows me that there's a lot of people who do a lot of things. And one of the cool things about the assets with Unreal Engine 5, and I don't know why I'm the one explaining this, but is you can take that little box, right? You put your wireframe and your motion engine or whatever you're going to use in that little box that allows that asset to function, right? You can take that box, copy it, leave it over here in this file, and then come back to it and do any kind of adjustment you want to it. It's really easy. It's all right there. And you can make copies and of your adjustment, have the original and the adjusted. You could do that 1,000 times if you wanted. It's so easy to go in and adjust, like he just said, with your character. Maybe your character, if you've noticed, there's some clipping on the right left hind quarter or what have you. You can go in, you can make adjustments to the skin, and you can go into Blender and fix that, and then put that new skin on top. It's so easy to do. It's just literally click and drag, dude.
I mean, before we know it, we're gonna start. You're gonna start talking about agile software development. You're gonna start talking about no, I'm kidding. It's
Well,
that
you,
like
I
it's
mean, well, that's the
no,
thing.
I know
If
exactly what you're talking about.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think it's an important thing, but I don't want to get stuck on this too much. I'm going to go make some coffee real quick, but I'll throw up the next story and let you guys go on about it here. Let's go ahead and get into that. No, no,
Oh
let's
boy.
not. Let's come back to that one. Let's talk about. No, let's come back to that one because this one here. No, I got. Oh, God damn it. Here, it's only going to take me a minute. What? Just you guys talk about this, and I'll come back in a minute. It's not going to take me long. I'll be back in a second.
Well, now that we know everything that's coming, video
jeez,
game movie adaptations ranked. There's only one winner at the top of this, and it's the first Sonic movie.
yeah.
That's it. Everything else is basically varying levels of crap. But that first Sonic movie was fantastic. They listened to their fans, a novel idea to be sure. Went back and made the changes. Actually, made it so that movie wasn't really even profitable, but because it had enough of an audience, they made a second one, which was very profitable. So
Did,
that's a good
did
thing.
you
These are all good
did you
things.
did you watch the Chip and Dale movie?
I did not.
Okay. You don't have kids, do you?
No.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's why I watched it. I thought it was hilarious because in Chippendale, it's sort of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where like cartoons are real, they're part of the life, they're like celebrities and stuff like that. And they had in that movie like there's like Comic Con, but it's like for comic books and stuff, or for video games or what have you. There was Ugly Sonic at like one of these Comic Cons, like handing out like his original like posters and stuff with him signing it, and he was embracing it. He's like, "Yeah, I'm Ugly Sonic, ha ha ha," I hear they're gonna try and make a movie with me still in it or something like that. It was really because he's obviously like a washed up has
Yeah,
been actor or what have you. It was kind of hilarious. Um, I have a soft spot for the original Mortal Kombat film.
me too.
It- It's not great, but the music was good, and they did
Yeah.
put in, I think, a decent effort into the actual like martial arts. Like the fight scenes look solid, and there's a lot of criticism I think you can be made, but it's not as terrible as it could have been. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
the
fun.
second Mortal
It's a really
Kombat's
fun
awful.
movie.
Like it all went downhill
Oh,
from there. But
yeah, the second Mortal Kombat's a absolute trash fire. But that first one, especially with Lambert
yeah.
as Raiden, what's his name? The guy who played Shang Tsung. Oh,
Oh,
super famous.
he's a great actor. Yeah. I know who you're
Yeah,
talking about. He's perfect for that role.
and even the guy who played Liu, Robin, was fantastic. I never understood why he never took off in Hollywood. He was in a few
Yeah.
things, but just never caught fire. He had
Johnny
all the
Cage
tools.
was good. He was fun in that
Right,
movie.
and yet we still keep getting fucking Zac Efron. Mhm.
Yep.
But anyway, my coffee is on the boil, so I have to pay attention. But let's get into this. I thought I like doing these top 10 things. I think they're fun, and
Yep.
you can find them all over the place. But Bound in the Comics seems to be quite religious in dropping one here or there. And like I said, I prefer Bounding more because of its format. It looks good on the YouTube. Right, and a lot of other places there. I don't know what it is with the web page design, but they look horrible when you're trying to share them. Where this for some reason this website looks good. But anyway, video game movie adaptations ranked. Ooh, what do you think?
Sandera and I
Number
have already agreed there's only one right answer for number one. So
Yes.
Lord of the Rings.
No. What?
what?
No. I think you're going backwards, Chester.
Did I become regressive? Oh no. All right, let's get into this, dude. Let me see. What do I should guess what? Would you guys say number one was? What'd you guys think?
Sonic.
Sonic.
The
Sonic.
Sonic movie.
It
Yeah.
was that was fun, and also they showed respect to the audience and gave them what they wanted. So good on 'em for that.
Yeah.
Best video game movie adaptation. Wow, dude. I'm going to go with Turok, Son of Stone. Hmm.
If I've ever seen it. I didn't know they
There
made
was
it
a
to rock.
That's
Turok
anim.
movie?
It's animated movie. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I guess it depends if they qualify that as a movie.
That's true. Oh, my water's boiling. I'll be back.
Go get it.
Yeah, the Resident Evil movies are a guilty pleasure. I don't love them, but I'll watch them. They're one of those
Yeah,
kind of movies. If it comes
I
on, I'll be like, all right, whatever. It's one of
I only
those.
watch them because of Milla. I have a very soft spot in my heart for Milla.
Well,
Um,
yes. Look at those
so
thighs. When
yeah, so I
it-
recognize. The first Resident Evil movie was a lot of fun, and much like Mortal Kombat, it all went downhill after the first film, right? It's something about these films, like I guess they just decided to fucking shit the
You know
bed.
what's weird about them is women love them. My wife loves them. She'll watch all of them, and
It's
I
kick
know a
ass.
lot of other women who do too.
It's girl power. It's girl power. Like we're gonna kick ass,
I
and
guess.
one of them was I don't know what it was, but like it kind of got a little bit cool. It was like where they got stuck in like the tower or something like that. There was a bunch of like people stuck in a tower.
Hmm.
It got a lot darker, got like a lot grimmer and stuff. And so from a tone perspective, it was kind of fun. But
Am
it
I?
the, it wasn't for the entire film, so it just had brief spots of like looking okay. But yeah, but
Well, I mean, I'm not allowed to choose animated movies. You guys took Sonic. That's definitely animated.
we're choosing films that actually had like a release in like film in theater.
Theaters,
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
full
that's what
releases.
we're qualifying.
All right, fine.
Things that are theatrical releases.
Well, then I'm thinking that Mila Jovovich's tits win always. So, yeah.
I mean, I
Uh,
prefer a leg, but you can do it. What makes you happy?
oh, Mila, she's, I like her. She's actually a nice lady. She is a nice
She's
lady.
a good lady. She's a good
And
woman.
her husband is absolutely obsessed with putting her in films. He should have got over that long ago, but whatever. I like her. She's a nice lady. So, anyway, let's take a look here. Ooh, ooh.
Wow, man.
Jesus Christ,
We're not
dude.
starting on a good footing here.
Holy.
And the
Uh,
worst part about this is it should have been easy. This should have been an easy adaptation because the first game is so cinematic in its storytelling. This should have been easy, and it just
You have to give them
wasn't.
credit though. They did tie in the modern factor. They did.
They did.
And
They
good
They
did.
on them
did.
for that. But you have a really solid actor here. You could it just failed on so many levels, sadly.
Here's
Uh,
how I would have done it. Here's how I would have done it fully. I would have leaned into it hard. It would have been strictly a period piece with a voiceover to start it, and then you're just in the past the whole time
And you could have
until the
had a
very end,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then you
yeah.
show what's going on. That's how they should do movie. That's basically what the game does for the
Leave it
most
as
part,
a
and then you jump
twist,
back a little
right?
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
yeah.
have that be the
Uh,
twist at
I,
the end
did
because
I read?
general audiences wouldn't have
I
known
have to
that.
go check. Did I read the headline wrong? Let me see. Let me read it again. Video game
You did.
movie adaptations ranked. Okay, is it supposed to say bad video game movie adaptations
I know,
ranked?
right?
Well,
I
that's
would
pretty
actually
much
go
every
one
movie
deeper, Thundero,
adaptation.
because I like your idea. I wouldn't even start with the voiceover to introduce it. I would have like a little stinger at the end where, like, you have the movie just be like a normal movie period piece, and then at the very
Yep.
end, like mid like credits, have a scene where like he wakes up in
In the
modern time.
cradle, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah, yeah.
like, okay, we've recorded your first dive, and everyone's like, what the, like that's
That would
how
have
I
been
would.
cool. Yeah,
Well,
but
that's
gamers would have known it's
basically
coming. But yeah, yeah,
well, yeah, but that's kind of what they did at the end of the first game. Yeah, they jump back and you do know what's happening, but the world opens up dramatically on a cliffhanger at the end of the first game. And they didn't have any of that suspense because they went in with Chester's. Well, they already know what's going to happen, so well,
yeah.
they
No,
didn't have to do that. They didn't have to assume the audience knew what was going to happen. I mean, yeah, a lot of people probably did, but not everybody did. Not everybody's
no.
played that game.
It's true. But this game, the problem with this this movie, is it's just bad writing and bad
Yep.
direction, bad pacing. It's just bad. The costume design was great. It should have been a good movie. It should have been. You just had a. Yeah,
Yep.
I blame the director 100% for this situation.
This is
Yeah,
one of the game franchises that should have been easy to do. Easy
yeah,
to adapt, and they just bonked it just right out of the gate,
yeah.
ballsed it right up.
I don't think this is going to be the most fun list. I have a feeling.
Let's see what number 9 is.
It better not
Buckle
be Mortal
Number 9.
Kombat. Someone's going to get slapped. Okay, all right.
up.
Um,
Ah,
No, it deserves to be on the list. Absolutely.
yeah, I
What?
like the street. I love. First
Okay.
of all, I'm a big John Claude Van Damme mark,
Yeah.
especially back then. He
Yeah.
was just money every time. Every one of his movies I loved, even if they weren't great. And this one wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination, but it was fun and it did feel like Street Fighter. They got a lot of the character, like they got a lot of the characterizations correct. Now, obviously, he's not a great Guile, but everybody else was pretty good.
No, it was a
What's his
weird
name?
to have him go. Well, Raul Julia here, he was
Yeah,
awesome.
Bison.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I will say what is, if you haven't watched this for the, because some people might be too young to have seen this, or what have you. It is really interesting to watch this from the perspective of Raul Julia is putting on a a stellar performance
Oh yeah,
and,
he
and
is, dude. He's killer.
outshining
It's so hard.
literally every single person on screen.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, the reason everyone comes across as like horribly fucking stiff and just terrible at acting is because he is putting every ounce of his, because that's the movie he did before he died, and
It
he
is,
had a
yeah.
lot of, he really wanted to do this film because he wanted to do something for his kids to watch, right? And
Yeah.
I always argued like, well, that's what Adam's Family was for, but like his kids were really into Street Fighter, and he wanted to do something for his kids before he died. So his heart and soul are kind of in this film, in this performance,
Yep.
and it comes across like he is putting on a stellar performance for Street Fighter, and it
He's
just
chewing the scenery, dude.
he
Yeah.
absolutely chewed the scenery.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it is a kids movie, a family movie, without question. And it's schlocky and campy and fun. I don't have a problem with this movie at all. At all.
Okay. Oh, that's
Uh,
fair.
It's
yeah.
not by any stretch of the imagination cinema, but it's a
No,
movie, and I'll
no,
watch it.
but it's fun family time. It's popcorn flick, dude, and it's
Yeah,
goofy and it doesn't take itself seriously. It's fun, and Raul
it's
Julia is worth every minute.
Jean Claude Van Damme when he isn't trying to be when he's campy, when it's ridiculous is when he's his best. Universal Soldier, this, blood sports over the top. Even and that was probably the least of those. When he's in that vein in that lane, I guess
Yeah.
that's when he's at his best. When you try to get a much more like realistic story out of him, he can't do that. He's not that guy,
No, and
especially
his and
barely
it,
speak English. So
yeah, that's true. And his ego, he's Belgian. His ego
yeah,
does get in the way, and he even has admitted that in modern times his ego was a problem.
yeah,
He was very very hard to work with. He was difficult on set. The only real positive thing about him in his private life to say is he kicks Seagal's ass, and that's worth every minute of it. Because Seagal was lipping off, because that's the biggest ego in the universe right there,
yeah,
Steven Seagal.
yeah,
And he was mouthing off the Jean Claude Van Damme. You don't do that. You don't
yeah.
do
That's
that
not wise.
because he's legitimate. He's a
Yeah,
real deal, right? That's an actual, kickboxing champion right there. I mean, he's the real deal, and he has an ego nearly the size of Steven Seagal. Okay. But beyond that, just watch it for the fun campiness of it. And Raul Julia is awesome, dude. He's awesome.
yeah.
Moving on. This doesn't belong to exist.
Oh God,
No,
this
I haven't
movie.
seen the
This
movie, so I don't
movie
know.
is not terrible. To be honest, it's
Yeah,
not. But it has nothing to do with Uncharted other than a coat of paint. That's it. The names of the characters and their costumes are basically right. Everything else is wrong. Everything
Right.
else has nothing to do with Nathan Drake.
yeah, I haven't
I
seen it, so
mean,
I don't know.
Mark Wahlberg as Sully felt insulting. Like,
Yeah,
talk about like I'm getting to the point where I hate Mark Wahlberg. I hate seeing him and stuff because he's just Mark Wahlberg.
He
Like,
is. He is.
he's
He's one of those actors. He's just
yeah.
himself. Yes.
But they keep casting him and stuff where it demands a bit more of a performance. Like,
yeah,
if they just kind of knew his lane and cast him in things where being Mark Wahlberg is fine, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But they cast him in stuff where it's like, oh, he needs to not be Mark Wahlberg for this, right?
Right.
yeah.
And Sully's a great example of that, right? And he's not, but
And this is another movie or game that should have been easy to do.
right,
Sure.
If they would have casted it correctly and just followed close, well, any of the game's story, I think they would have been a much better success. I actually don't like Tom as Drake,
no.
but he
Well,
grew on me in the movie.
He's too
Throughout the movie,
little.
he
He's
grew
too
on me.
little.
He's just too small. He's
Yeah.
not, and he's not old enough either. Like Nathan Drake's
well,
supposed to be in his early 30s. Um,
oh, let's go ahead. Yeah,
I,
sorry.
it's just
That's true, Rod.
I wanted an Uncharted movie for so long because I knew it could be done. It's not even a difficult one. It shouldn't be a difficult one to transition. But when you make an Uncharted movie and then you have the two main characters not use a gun except for the one for like 2 minutes,
Right.
and then it gets knocked out of his hands and he never touches a gun again while everybody else around him's using guns, that doesn't make any sense. And it's not Uncharted. Like, Uncharted is a shooter game. If you don't want to make that movie, then don't make Uncharted. Make something else.
Right.
That's why I say it's just not Uncharted. Like, just fundamental little things, like
Mm.
the way these two fight bad guys isn't in there. The
Yeah.
fact that I don't think Mark Wahlberg smokes a cigar once. If he did, I don't remember
Well,
it.
you're not allowed to smoke in
Um,
Hollywood
he,
anymore. But
the fact that he's not cool like Sully is. Sully's cool.
and
He's
he's
he's a
much
whole
older,
lot.
right?
Yeah,
Well,
He.
and
it's
Sully's
just
got
a
like
miss.
a weathered, like, world weary sense to him and stuff, and that's not Mark Wahlberg, right?
No.
No.
The reality is that they made this movie 10 years too late. It should
Yes.
have been Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake, but he's kind
Yep.
of aged
Yes.
out of the role a little bit. If you really want to see the best portrayal of Nathan Drake, even Nathan Fillion knew that he should have been Nathan Drake, and he used his own money to make his own fan film where he is
Yeah.
Nathan Drake.
It's awesome, by
And
the
it's
way.
all.
You should go watch it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Go
it's
watch
perfect.
that. It's only like 10 or 15 minutes, but fucking perfect. It is the
Yeah,
perfect Nathan Drake, like, little scene. He gets like a real actors to play it. He put all of his own money into it because he
he
was
did.
like, I should be the one playing Nathan Drake. Fuck it, I'm gonna make my own little movie where I'm Nathan Drake, right? And it's well done. It's
It
well
is.
directed, and the guy who plays Sully is believable as Sully, and he's got a proper fucking mustache and stuff, and he
No,
smokes a cigar,
Yeah, you're
you
right.
know.
Yeah, no,
So
it is nice. You should check it out. And even that had a cliffhanger. But I will say, just before we move on, the best Mark Wahlberg not being Mark Wahlberg is The Big Hit.
yeah,
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
Boogie Nights,
Well, Boogie
Boogie Nights.
Nights is the same character though. He can only do two
Yeah,
characters. He does Mark
yeah,
I would
Wahlberg
say his
and
two
the
best,
super sweet nice guy.
yeah,
the two best Mark Wahlberg being Mark Wahlberg movies are Four Brothers and The Other Guys.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, the other
yeah,
guys, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Or
he is entertaining when he's in the right role. He is.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
stepdads or something like that. I think he's like what he does well
That
with
one's
what
pretty
he
good
does
too.
with Will
Yeah,
Ferrell. When he's teamed up with Will Ferrell, he can do some good work. But again,
and
he's just being
Mel
fucking Mark
coming in there
Wahlberg.
was great. The
Yeah.
second
Yeah,
one with Mel was
Well,
yeah.
good.
Elrod makes a really good point. Uh, this what is this little boy's name?
Tom Holland.
Um,
Holland, yeah,
um,
Holland,
yeah,
yeah.
Holland, yeah,
You're right. A live action Tintin, dude, he'd be perfect.
yeah,
He would.
yeah.
He's just too small. I can't buy him as Drake. I just can't. I wanted to. Went in there trying, and I was getting real annoyed that we were like almost 90 minutes into this thing, and he never touched a firearm once.
Do do
That was
realize
annoying me,
we are
and it's just
watching.
crazy.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
I was going to say we are watching the rise of the next Tom Cruise. That is what
Oh
Tom Holland is
God.
going to be.
You think? You
Oh,
think? No, it would be
Absolutely.
fun if it's true. It would be fun if it's true. But because Tom, I don't know though, because even from the
Tom.
beginning, Tom was entertaining me, and and this Tom is hit or miss for me, and Tom Cruise was never that
Great
way.
stuff. I've seen him in some dramatic roles. Tom Holland in some dramatic roles that he does a really good job with.
Yeah. Well, no,
You
it'd be
could be
cool if
right.
you're right. It'd be cool if you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if it's another Tom. That's kind of funny. Two Toms back to back in that like perennial top guy roles for Hollywood.
Yeah, but
Uh,
here's the difference though. They're probably about the same size. Holland might even be taller. He probably is
mhm.
taller. I mean, Tom Cruise is radically short.
He's a
But
manlet.
so he is a manlet, and so Holland's probably a bit taller than him, not by much. However, Tom Cruise has never looked small. He sells big
Yep.
really, really well. I don't know how he does it, but he does.
The way he
And
carries himself.
it's something
And that's
about
the other
it, you
problem
know.
with Holland is he doesn't have the confidence in his own masculinity, probably because of the generation he is, and Tom Cruise does.
Mm.
He's dripping with it. And that's probably what you're seeing there. Why he doesn't look like a little guy, even though he is a little guy, and Tom Holland does. Even standing next to Mark Wahlberg, he looks small, and they're like the same height or close to it.
I think
It's
Tom
just the way
Holland's
he
like an
carries
inch
himself.
taller than him.
He might
Yeah,
even
I
be.
think he's a
He's
bit
just
taller. Yeah, a little bit.
yeah.
Because I think Tom is 5'4". And honestly, there's many famous Hollywood people that are around 5'4". Hollywood
Yeah.
people tend to be small. There are some bigger ones, but think of who you would think of classic Hollywood that would be big, like say Yul Brynner, right? Yul Brynner was always kind of presented as a big guy, right? But he's like 5'9", right? Yul Brynner
Wow.
is not a big guy. Now Hollywood has had a few. Chuck Connor is a good example. He's taller than me, right? But
Mm.
in general, Hollywood guys are in that under 5'9" size group, 5'4" to 5'9". They're in that little man group, and it used to be necessary for filming, and these days, I guess it's just tradition. Little people got to find a place to live
Well,
anyway. It's okay.
yeah. Well, and a
Even
lot of them
though
are.
Mark Wahlberg is short, Mark
He
Wahlberg's
is.
5'8".
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. It's just that Mark once again doesn't sell small, right?
Yeah.
Tom Holland does. But I don't know this movie, so it sounds like it's fun
And
just to
in
watch,
fairness
though.
to Tom, he might grow out of it. He's real young still. He isn't
Yeah,
even
Yeah.
fully developed as a man. He's only like 25, and men usually finish about 30. So he's still got a few years of thickening. So he
I
might grow out of that.
suppose. But remember, Tom Cruise in Top Gun. How old was he there? Younger than Tom
Like
Holland.
yeah, he was early 20s,
He
but
was
younger than Tom
younger,
Holland. You're right.
and he didn't sell small in that movie at all. So I
True.
don't know, but it is a problem. Tom needs to figure the Holland needs to find his way around, because I don't dislike the kid.
Me neither. I
So
think he's fine. I think he just needs to get more confidence in his own fact that he's a male and
yeah,
just
stop
own it.
being a goddamn pussy.
Yeah, he just kind of that's
Fuck.
how he comes off, and it's like, come on, bro. I know you're not that. I know he's not that. That's just how he portrays himself. He
It's because he's
obviously has enough
British,
courage to
guys.
go be a world famous
Oh,
actor.
that's right. He is British, Ben. Thank you.
It's
They're
like,
all
come on.
homosexuals. That's right.
Oh, God. Not where I was going.
Oh no!
Number 7. Um.
Ex- now this has to
Oh
be.
man,
He's ribbing us. He's got to be ribbing us. This is one of the
what
worst
are we
movies ever made.
doing?
All right, hold on a second. Who
It's
who who
number
created
7.
this? Hold on a
Why is this
second.
about Street Fighter?
Is this Frank? This Frank. It's Frank messing with us, dude. Frank.
He's trolling. This is a
He
troll
is.
at this point.
Uh, to be fair, this as a movie to watch as a TV Sunday afternoon, no problem, right? But that's kind of where it
Yeah.
belongs.
It should be at best a Saturday morning special, right? Like some kind of special thing made for kids back in the day. It had no business in theaters. It's an abomination. I can't believe Nintendo allowed it, but they did. Uh, no, this movie is not only is it not good, it's objectively bad. Like it's objectively a bad movie. It's
It
one of
is.
those movies where it's pretty much universally agreed. I've never seen anybody say it's a good movie. I've seen people say they like it just because of nostalgia and whatever, and that's fine.
Right.
But it's a bad movie.
Yeah,
Like
and
it
it's
just
got
is.
some really good people in it, though. I mean, this is
Yeah,
early like
yeah,
Leguizamo. You got Dennis Hopper in it. I can't remember this guy who's playing Mario. I can't remember his name, but he's a great character actor in so many things, dude.
yep.
But
He's a
it's
British
overall.
actor. Yeah.
What was that, Ben?
He's a British actor. No, like that's that's the funny thing. It's like he was talking about because he didn't know um like what Mario was, and when someone explained it to him and he read through the thing and he was like, "Oh God, I used to play Hamlet," right? Like it's like I used to be
Well,
in like
keep in mind
major things.
he's
Yeah.
amazing in freaking Roger Rabbit, dude.
Yep.
Oh yeah, well, because he is a legit like amazing actor.
Yeah,
Um, what was it? When was this in the '90s film?
93.
Yeah,
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Bob Hoskins.
Bob
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hopkins, yeah,
Bob
yeah,
Hoskins.
yeah. He's a
Yep.
good actor, and like I said, it's got Dennis Hopper in it too, playing King Koopa. Um, so or Bowser, I guess. What do we call
Yeah,
him? I get confused
he's
because
Bowser.
Japanese have a different name for him.
Yeah, Bowser over here. What they
So
call him.
King
Well, they
Koopa.
called him King Koopa at first, but they changed it to Bowser in the last 20 so years, 25 years or so.
What
Because I
would
remember back in the day, we called him King Koopa when I was a little kid. That's what we all called him.
what would Koopa be? I wonder. See, in Japanese, Kame would be turtle. Uh, Kappa would be the mythological turtle man. I can't think. Maybe they were just putting. A lot of times Japanese will take two sounds and put them together, and they might have
Hmm.
done that. Like Pac-Man is coming out of Paku Paku, which is simply the lip smacking sound,
right.
right? And that we Americans just call it Pac-Man. But it's basically man is what it is. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, no. Why is this on the list? Jesus. Maybe the problem with this list is there just aren't that many video game adaptations. But is that true?
No,
No,
there's a
there's a
lot of them.
lot. There's just not many good ones.
Okay,
Yes, they're pretty much all bombs.
Frank's having a bad day. How in the hell is this 7? How in the hell is this above Street Fighter? For goodness sake,
Yeah,
dude. I mean, that's
silliness.
certainly better than that. Anyway, right. Oh, come on. It deserves to be higher than that, doesn't it?
Well, we'll see what's above it, but I would put it
Yeah.
higher personally. I
'Cause-
thought it was fine. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought it was fine. The only thing I would say that I disliked was that guy right there in the middle, the main character. He just wasn't. He phoned it in. I've seen him do a lot better in his
Yeah,
performances. It
that's
wasn't
true.
That
He
that
wasn't
dude
great. Yeah.
gets so much work just based off of his eyes. Just the fact
Yep.
that he's got those like amazing eyes. That's really the only reason he gets hired so much.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's all you need. Look at Tom Cruise. He got a lot of his roles because he was pretty, and then he learned how to act.
Yeah. 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 No, he's improved. His acting has certainly improved.
Oh, he's a
Um
fantastic actor.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Warcraft certainly deserves to be on the list. It's nothing wrong with it. It's a fun flick. It's certainly one of the few video game adaptations I can think of that didn't irk me in any way. There was really nothing in here that irked me. I was like, okay, yeah, that was fun. It was good 2 hours of popcorn and entertainment, right? And I've actually even watched it again. I've watched it twice, which is super rare for me. But
Mhm.
yeah, I feel it's a bit low. Let's see what they're putting above this here. Which Mortal Kombat are we talking about here,
The
guys?
first one.
The
Looks
first
like
one,
the first
okay.
one. That
Um,
Scorpion.
well, oh, okay. I don't know. I'll let you guys go first.
Uh,
I'd
Thunder,
I'd say
we
I
were
agree.
talking about this. I've got a soft place in my heart for this. It was fun at the time.
Yeah.
It
I don't
was.
think it's in any way, a great movie or anything, but it's
No,
something I will always watch. The song, the theme, what's the word I'm looking for? The soundtrack is fantastic. I like most of the main cast performances. I think they do fine. It's a silly script, right? That they took the premise a little too literally. They could have done something interesting with it, especially with the lore that they've built. But it's okay. I think the guy who played Shang's awesome. Obviously, he always is.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the guy who played Liu
The
Kang did
Ale
fine.
Cuisine guy, that guy.
Yeah. Obviously, Highlander as Raiden is awesome the whole time. Like he's just fantastic in that
Christopher
role. He's
Lambert, yeah,
perfect.
no, he
Yeah,
steals that. We were talking Raul Julia. Well, Christopher Lambert owns every scene he's in this movie,
yes,
um,
easily.
easily. I just don't know that I would put this above Warcraft.
I would personally, just because I love this movie, because it came out right when I was like, I don't know, probably like 13 or something. I
Yeah, the
don't remember
perfect
when it
age
came out,
for
right
you.
around
Yeah.
that time. Yeah. Whereas Warcraft, I've obviously was an adult and everything and married, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, well, I was
Like,
adult for both of them, so maybe that's why. I enjoy the
yeah,
movie. I think it deserves to be on the list without question, though. It is
yeah,
fun. It is fun. But I don't know because this movie was just didn't really have many problems with it. This is a solid 5 or 6 movie. This is a 4 at best. Um, yeah, but it has certain things that endears it to you, doesn't it?
yes,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, let's see what's coming further here. Oof. This is the franchise in general, I guess. Does this deserve to be above? Maybe the first movie at least. I don't know, Ben. What do you
it's
think about this?
very it's very long lasting. They made a ton of them.
It
they
is,
did.
and
They did. It's got legs on it.
it's got
Oh,
Mila Jovovich on it.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, does it deserve to be above Warcraft, World of Warcraft? I don't know. I mean, the first movie is legit, like, decent, like, good. It's fun. There's like a twist, a legit twist at the end.
Hmm.
Like, it's not often these films get away with a decent twist that people don't see coming like a mile away and stuff. So that in and of itself, I think warrants like some respect of the film that came out. A
Hmm.
lot of the others are kind of hot garbage.
Yeah.
There's spurts of brilliance in between them, but like only for specific scenes and not for like the entire movie and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would be okay with. I'm okay with this being number four. I think that's okay.
I think the 4, 5, and 6 are interchangeable.
Yeah.
But one thing we haven't really talked about. We're just having fun. But one thing we haven't really talked about is the whole adaptation aspect of the headline. Because if we're going to talk about adaptation, this is a major failure.
yes.
Because
It's
this
very
is
it's very similar to Uncharted in a lot of ways. This one is a little bit more so, at least better, I would say, in
it
that
had
regard. But
yeah, I think so. But
very
it,
much
it
is a
has
veneer.
nothing. It has nothing to do with Biohazard, dude.
It has the name. It has a couple of the. I don't think the first one. Does the first one have any of the characters from the first game? I can't remember. But
They added some later. They
eventually,
did.
they
They
yeah
did.
they
Yeah.
come in. But yeah, it's kind of the same vein, right? They just kind of took the name, a little bit of the stuff like Raccoon City, and just kind of painted it on there. There you go. Now it's
Yeah.
Resident Evil.
But I get it. It is not Resident Evil, but they're all kind of entertaining. The first one is certainly the best of the lot, and you have Mila Jovovich in it, and she's very likable person and very attractive person. So it makes sense. All of that. You know who loves this series, Ben? I mean, absolutely adores it.
Who?
Sakura,
I mean,
Yep.
it's girl power, right? When we
I
talk about
guess.
it, right? She kicks ass. She gets in there and she kicks ass. So
Yeah, but
that
but it's not in my face though. It's not like, yay, women feminism. She just simply is the protagonist, right?
well, I think the difference being, and I totally get what you guys talk about. I don't necessarily agree with you, but I understand the perspective you're coming from. Is you don't like it being thrown in your face, so they're not sitting there and be like Milla's not going on there and being like, they told me that I couldn't do it, but I'm doing it. Women are just
No.
as good, right? And so I get what your guys come from sometimes. Where like, okay, like the messaging's very heavy-handed. It kind of dilutes from the thing. Where in this one, she just kicks ass,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing in
Alien.
Terminator 2. Yeah, Aliens.
Terminator. Yeah.
Like they just kick ass. No one's sitting there that saying like, oh, like they told me I couldn't do it because I'm a girl. Blah 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 blah.
Top Gun
So
Maverick.
Yeah.
yeah, so I get that you guys like don't like the messaging sometimes. It doesn't bother me as much. I kind of get where it's coming from sometimes, but this is another one where Mila just kicks ass. That's
Yeah.
that's all she does. Like, she just kicks ass.
And she
That's
does a
it.
good job. And keep in mind, this is a literal rail ass model. But she sells
Yeah.
it. She sells it really well. And this is a
All right.
problem with these little teeny girls we see left and right. And we're going to get to that here later in the podcast. It's not really the size of the person isn't as important as their ability to sell something. Tom Cruise, perfect
Oh, cool.
example. And Mila definitely sells as a kick-ass. Look at her in The Fifth Element. She's awesome. Does anyone care that she's female? No, of course not. Because the movie doesn't care that she's female. She's just there, right? Just like in this, she's just there. Was there any kind of conversations or talk along the lines that, well, we got to have a female representation? I suppose maybe, but we didn't feel that. We didn't see that. We didn't get any notions of that because it doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, I didn't even think about to have a conversation about it until Ben just mentioned it, right? So seriously,
Well, the Resident Evil games have often had female
yeah.
protagonists you could play anyway, so
Valentine,
it
of course,
wasn't
is a
like
major
yeah,
major character.
it wasn't like it was completely out of pocket to have the Resident Evil movie have a female protagonist.
No, no, it's not at all. But and Mila's great, and I think these are interchangeable, for sure.
Yeah, I'd
Uh,
say that's probably fair, especially considering even if you don't like the Resident Evil movies, they made a lot of them because they made a lot of money.
mhm.
So somebody liked them.
Yeah, because they're entertaining, and that's the
Yeah,
that's the point, man. But my daughter absolutely adores this series, dude. She loves it.
so does my wife. She
Yeah,
loves it.
and she watched of course, she was excited to watch the two new Resident Evil stuff that have come out. One was the Return to Raccoon City, I think it was called, and the other one was this stupid Netflix thing, and she wouldn't even talk about them. Right.
Well, the one's already canceled, so.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Uh, so whatever. Anyway, let's see what number three is. Um,
Oh, I
okay,
completely forgot about this movie. I would have put it number 3, but yeah, it's pretty good.
it is
Like
fun. Yeah,
for considering that Rampage doesn't really have a whole lot going on for it story wise, that it's just
Yeah,
about like big animals destroying stuff. Yeah, I can kind of see that for this one. So
yeah.
no, this
you know,
was a
I
pleasant
forgot
surprise
about
from Dwayne Johnson. It was fun.
It's one of his best movies, just fun movies. Like,
Yeah,
it's not trying to do anything. It knows what it is, and it's doing it. And I can't complain. I had no complaints after I watched it. I was like, "All right." I knew what I love the Rampage games. It was one of my favorite games growing up.
sure.
I just loved the it was simple, go in and smash. Cool, I'm
Hmm.
in. And I went and smashed. And that's what this movie does. It goes and smashes. And that's all it needed to do.
Yeah, no.
And I
you're
was happy.
telling me you had no complaints, Thundero? I can't believe that. I'm
None.
having
I don't that well, if I did, I don't remember them. So
Well, and if we're talking about adaptation, I don't know that there's a better one on the list so far. It is exactly what
yeah,
that video game is.
yeah.
Exactly, right?
Because that game is just go smash, and that's what happens. The animals go smash.
Yeah,
Easy. See how
and
easy it is, movie makers.
and having yeah, I think so. Dumb's the name. I agree. That's got to be is coming up. Yeah, no, this is Dwayne Johnson doing exactly what he should be doing. It's
Right
really
in
good.
his lane.
Now,
Yep.
the next two, number one and two, are either going to be Sonic or Silent Hill. Um, and I'm kind of curious what's where, because in my opinion, knowing it's got to be those two. It has to be. Therefore, in my opinion, Silent Hill definitely is better than Sonic. But you guys are picking Sonic as number one, huh?
Yep. Yep.
All right. Well, let's see. But not much to say about this Rampage one because it's just fun. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, dude. It's just a fun popcorn flick. It's great. All right, here we go. See, Frank.
Wow.
So hold on a second. Claps for Frank.
Oh, now it's claps for fun.
Good job, Frank.
Where
Good
were
job,
those
Frank.
when we
But no,
Super
this movie was
Mario?
Yeah,
great. It was great fun, though. This was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
genuinely is.
yeah.
Genuinely fun movie.
Entertainment, and it was nice to see Jim Carrey back doing what he does best. Because
Yep.
when you leave him alone too much and you give him a microphone, bad things happen. It's just that's the
Yep.
fact. The man is absolutely insane. Keep him in front of a camera for his own safety, please. But he was great in this. Everything was great about it. It was a really fun movie.
Yeah. I again, very few complaints, if any. I'm trying to think of one just for Ben. I got nothing off the top of my head. I'd have to watch it again. I greatly respect the production company that made this movie, that made the decisions to go fix it, even though it cost them a lot of money.
Yeah,
I greatly respect that, and that was one of the main reasons I supported it. I even said on here, even if it's not good, go see it
yeah.
because they
But it
deserve
was
it.
good though. It was good.
Yes.
And have you guys seen the second one? Is that out yet?
Yes.
I know they were
Yeah.
talking about
Oh
it.
yeah, the second one's a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
Yep. Second
So
one's not bad. I'd say the
yeah,
first one's probably a little bit better, but the second one it suffers from sequelitis, right? They had to up the stakes.
yeah.
But the second one's still pretty good. Knuckles is great in it. Love him. It's
Now
hilarious.
Alan is trolling me, saying number one will be Sonic 2. Go to hell, Alan. But Roger says there needs to be a Castlevania movie. There is an animated series about Castlevania. It's done in Japanese
Yeah,
style, and it's okay.
quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, the
Uh,
Castlevania movie could work actually. It's another one with a very simple premise. Just
well,
go kill Dracula.
we already have
Real
it. It's
easy.
called Van Helsing with our Wolverine.
Oh, but come on, that movie.
No,
I
that's my
like that movie,
that's a guilty pleasure. I love that movie.
but it's a terrible movie.
Yeah. Well, Hugh Jackson. Hugh, what's his name?
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh
Jackman.
Jackman.
Close enough. I was close enough. The son of Jack, the man that is Jack. Either way, you know. But I actually love Van Helsing. It's I wish we could have got more of that. Anyway, here we go. Drum roll. Are you fucking kidding me,
Oh,
Frank? Frank! God
curveball.
damn it, Frank!
Wow.
Frank! Are you fucking kidding me, Frank? How old is Frank? Is he 22? Jesus.
I have to say, I like Detective Pikachu, but is that an actual game edit? Was there a Detective
There
Pikachu
was,
game?
there
Was that a
was,
game?
It
there
was a
was.
game
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
first.
yeah, there was.
It was a game before
Gotcha.
anything
Yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah. But
Gotcha.
now, well, there's many questions here. One, how is Silent Hill not on the list? That
That's a
is
good
an
question.
amazing movie adaptation. To talk about adaptations, it's very adept to the movie. Detective Pikachu is not. It has nothing to do with the video game called Detective Pikachu at all. So adaptation wise, it shouldn't be on the list. But I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Would you guys even put this movie on the list?
I wouldn't, simply for what you just said, because it's literally just the name. Like there's nothing, from what I understand, because I did look up the game before. I didn't know it came out first. Um, as far as I can tell, it's nothing. It has nothing to do with the
No,
game at
zero
all. It's
relation.
just the name.
It's a completely
And then
unique
Pikachu,
story. Yeah, yeah,
Pokemon.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Uh,
it's like, eh.
the
It's
C,
I like Detective Pikachu. I like the movie. I thought it was
eh,
fine,
I
but
didn't care for it,
it's
but the
not.
CG was great though.
Yeah, it's not like, I don't know. I wouldn't put it on this list as top 10, simply because it doesn't feel like a video game movie, which maybe you could say is a good thing, I guess, simply because so many of them suck. But Sonic felt like a video game movie because it was Sonic. This just felt like a Pokemon movie where Pikachu's a detective that can talk. That's
Well,
all it felt like.
Ben, you're a Pokemon boy. What do you think?
Yes, I am. I mean, going by the strictest definition, right? Pokemon did start out as a video game. That is the inception of Pokemon. It grew to so much more beyond that, but its roots are in video game culture,
Oh yeah,
and so as that and Detective Pikachu also had its own video game. Like that's
it
where
did.
Detective Pikachu came from.
It's
And
right.
like that is a video game itself, right? So, and it was a fun movie. I don't know. I'm with you. I would have liked to have seen Silent Hill on here. I would have put Sonic above this. But it depend it deserves to be in the top tier somewhere.
You
Where that
think?
falls, I don't know. But
Okay.
yeah,
I wouldn't even put it on the list. If it was
really,
10, well, if it was 10, I wouldn't complain though. But I wouldn't put it on the list at all. And so the fact that Silent Hill isn't even on the list makes Frank extremely suspect. I have a vendetta now, Thundero.
dun dun dun.
Yeah, I call a jihad upon Frank.
Oh,
Am I allowed to say that?
Not a
Probably.
jihad.
No,
Not a
no.
Japanese jihad.
Oh no. Oh no. Jihad on Frank. But any honorable mentions, Frank? No, no. He probably never seen it. Is a problem. But these lists from Bounding are never accurate. It's awesome. It makes it more entertaining for us, doesn't it? But Frank Martin, sir? No, no, no. Okay. Anyway, that was fun
Swing and
though.
a miss.
Swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss.
But that was fun. There are. We're always hoping that because video game adaptations don't go well. They just don't. I
No.
don't know why. It's a bit of a mystery, but they tend to do badly. And for to be fair though, for a very long time, comic book adaptations did the same. They failed pretty badly until they started getting it right. Well, which I would say Blade is really where it started. I don't know. Swamp Thing, the original Swamp Thing.
No, the original Superman, bro. What are you talking about?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
true. Superman, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
So you got Superman was done well. You had Swamp Thing and then Blade. There was a lot of other stuff that wasn't great though, dude. A lot of
No,
not good
it's
stuff.
trash.
Um,
Lots of trash.
but it started consistently. We started getting some fun things. And maybe video game adaptations will fall in. Because keep in mind that video games, especially in this,
That a great point that Grimlock just made in the chat. Angry Birds. The Angry Birds movie is fantastic, and it is a
it
Yeah,
video game
that
movie.
is
yeah.
funny. Yeah, you're right. It is funny. But mobile games don't count. Okay.
Apparently,
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Take
apparently not.
that. Okay. But anyway, let's move on here to an interesting article. Actually, go ahead.
Batgirl actress not doing it. Ivory Aquino defends canceled DC film as quote much as it has been labeled woke, it simply came together that way because of writing that reflects the world we live in.
Okay.
Okay, sweetheart, get
Um,
off of Twitter.
um,
That's not the
um,
real world.
Ben, do you want to tell him or should I?
tell him what?
That's a dude.
You-
Oh, well, looks like a chick.
Well, you remember I mentioned, and I caused a lot of flack. I was like, from the waist up, she looks really good. Because some of these transgenders, from the waist up, they sell it fairly well, and she does. She's very attractive female until you get to her waist, and then it's like, whoa, what's going on? Uh, but um, that's that girl that I talked about, right? Now I understand I'm different than a lot of you, because as long as someone in demanding I do something and being annoying, I don't care if you want to be called she. I could give a shit. I'm fine to do that. Not a
So,
lot of you guys aren't. You refuse to on principle. Okay, whatever, fine. However, the interesting thing is about this article. It's not what you think. She's not being a bitch. He is not being a bitch at all. Well, no, it's actually more of a plead to Zaslav. And it's well worded and it's not rude at all, which is interesting. How different is that? Because one of the things we've certainly seen out of the Rainbow Coalition is just hate, anger, and throw words like Nazi around. I mean, that's what they do. That's not what she does. And I'm like, well, that's different. You know, so let's take a look at what this dude's got to say. Because, well, no, I think it's interesting.
you're just all over the shop right now.
saying you're willing to call her what she wants to be called, but then you keep calling her a dude. I mean, like,
Well, I'm
lame, Jet.
sorry.
Fucking
Uh,
lame.
You're all
uh,
over the shop.
Either honor the pronoun, or you want to be a jerk about it, be a jerk about it. But like,
Why
you
well,
would
can't.
you
I
try and be
was
a jerk
being
about?
Both sides.
friendly. That's like I'm not going to call you dude unless I appreciate you.
Well, I mean,
Ha! Ha
I
ha
was
ha!
trying to be a
See
jerk
how I
about
win,
the
chat?
actress thing.
Write that down. All
I
right.
was trying to be a jerk about the actor actress thing because it annoys me when females
It
call
does. It
themselves
annoys me
actor.
too. Yeah. I mean, if you're
But
using it
apparently I
plurally,
nailed it and I didn't even
right.
know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if we're using plural, it's definitely actor. When it comes to the singular, of course, it's actor or actress, of course. And
Yeah.
all of this, not it's just pure nonsense. I don't know what it is because yeah, in English, we don't have many words for males. Males get all the generic words. It's women that get the special shit. But I guess they really believe in their equality, and they want women to have nothing special whatsoever until it comes to the court, and then they're special.
When
Anyway,
then it till divorce
and it
happens.
definitely, yeah. But anyway, let's see what this dude's got to say. And yeah, I was surprised because I expected exactly what you all expect: whine, bitch, moan. No, that's not what we get. So I really just want to read it. Now, keep in mind this character is intended to be a transgender character. Therefore, they brought in a transgender actor to do it. This is a creation of Gail Simone, and Gail Simone is guilty all across the board. Anytime you see any kind of switching up of gayness or lesbianness or sex changeness or anything like that, it tends to be Gail Simone doing it, right? Any character. Batman's non-binary, bisexual, whatever. She does it. That's what Gail Simone does. She's all about making everything gay. So no big surprise. But whatever. At least it's a new character, right? That's interesting. And I don't know if you like the character, but it is a new character. I don't care about any of this nonsense. Whatever, whatever, whatever. I just want to see what the girl has to say here, or the dude, Ivory Aquino. That's not your name. That's definitely not your
Aquino
name.
might be.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see here. Where does it start? As one let's see here. Taking social media platform after learning of the film's rumored funeral screenings and the possible afterwards that the film footage would be destroyed. I don't think that's going to happen. These companies just shelve stuff. It might never see the light of day, but they're not going to actually destroy the footage. They wouldn't do that. There's $90 million spent. It's going on a shelf. And I've heard a few rumors that Zaslav's going to burn the film. Why? Why would he? And it's not real film anyway. It's all digital,
Yeah.
right? I mean, Ben, do you think there's any way possible that Zaslav's going to burn and destroy anything, literally?
no, I mean we already learned this lesson from the Snyder cut. Like that's not, but that's just not how these things work,
No, these
right?
guys don't throw anything away.
If there's a chance they can make any money, because here's what they're going to probably do, and let me just put on my thinking cap here. They're going to shelve it for a little bit. They're going to kind of sit on it. They're going to let things kind of stew, but then they might release it on like HBO or
Max,
something like that. Yeah, and if
yeah,
they get kind of a fervor around it, then they'll make some money off of it, right? So,
right,
like
yeah.
no, I burning the film would just be stupid.
It would be. So I don't know why those rumors are going around. It doesn't make sense. They don't. These guys don't do those things. They don't throw
If
anything
that's
away.
what legitimately does that, he's a fucking idiot.
No,
Like,
no, that would
yeah,
be stupid. Yeah. But anyway, Aquino wrote from her position as one of many who poured our hearts into making of this movie and asked the Warner Brothers Discovery head that this measure be considered. All right. So what do you want to consider? Taking the social media platform after learning of the film's rumored funeral screenings. And meaning they might actually just do a limit to release showing of it, just
Mm.
because it's done. Maybe that's what she means. But anyway, I kind of don't think they're going to do that either. I think they're just going to throw it and let it sit for a while because it seems to me that Zaslav is just literally in complete housekeeping mode, and that's what he's doing. And I wouldn't expect much out of Warner's Brothers for a couple of years, to be fair. And that's all right. I mean, that's what they feel needs to be done. Anyway, as one of the many who poured our hearts into making of this movie and asked Zaslav that this measure be considered, let people see it. As much as now, this is a letter directly to Zaslav from this actress. As much as I've tried my best to be strong these past few weeks, I'd find myself crying, for lack of a better term, from grief, and tonight was one of those nights, the actor added. Now, you're going to notice during this that Ivory here is certainly writing like a female. And we see this from not all, but a lot of gays and particularly transgenders. They overact being female. It's
Mm,
overly female. Because it is this big theater thing they're putting on. Now, I've met plenty of gay dudes in my life that you wouldn't know. They're just normal dudes, but
mhm,
they who just happen to be gay. But that's not what a lot of them do. And of course, the transgender are absolutely they're trying to be something they're not. So you're going to
yeah,
get that feel out of this. But I'm saying that I don't mind what she's saying here. Anyway, tonight was one of those nights, the actor added, turning to many claims that the film, which from the start of production, in an almost sunfire sign that its story and writing would come second to promoting its creator's ideology, which we know is true and happens all the time, marketed itself healthily on the fact that its actress was a race swap and that it featured a diverse cast and would be woke. Yes, they did promote it that way. Aquino then confessed as much as Batgirl has been labeled a woke film, it simply came together that way because of writing that reflects the world we live in. No. We just saw that it was intentionally sold as woke. It was overly sold as woke. They were
mhm,
very proud of it. So it wasn't something that just happened because the world we live in. It was written from an ideological point of view as was intended,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
100%.
Ivory, I'm sorry you're wrong in this, but I don't want to be mean because as it continues, you become a little sympathetic to her, I think. For me, more than anything, it is a father daughter story, which is close to home as my dad passed away a year ago, shortly before I booked this project. And I was hoping it would resonate with other children around the world, grown and not so grown, who hold their fathers in the highest esteem, and who could see Batgirl as a story of that special bond, said the actor. I found myself not being able to talk about this ordeal with anyone. I realized that no one apart from those involved with the film would truly understand what we're feeling. That's true, I would imagine. Because, whether we would have watched it or liked it or not, these people were spending a chunk of their life building something. So I understand that. And talking about it with my castmates, I feel might be akin to rubbing salt on a still open wound. My heart goes out to Leslie Grace and our beloved directors and entire crew and cast who spent months dedicating their all to this endeavor. Leslie checked in on me the day we found out of the shelving and only had words of comfort and support. I've dared not ask since if she spent nights holding back tears like I have, because she has had to be the face of our Batgirl family and has had to put on a brave face as a way of taking care of us and the way she gracefully steered our film. So it sounds like she really enjoyed the filmmaking process. Tonight, I finally got to talk with a dear friend here about these. It's almost like you're British about these intense feelings. Who shared with me an anecdote which helped provide inspiration for this letter to you. This once again, where this is a letter directly to Zavla. They said the head of a company is like one large cog atop increasingly smaller cogs underneath. One seemingly small movement by this large cog may seem relatively tiny, but for those little cogs at the bottom, they can be spinning tenfold, and the effect can be seismic. I can only endeavor to understand how one feels when tasked with tending to the bottom line like you have. I can't even begin to imagine what one in your position goes through, having such great responsibility to attend to. I don't know how, and ask with something like Batgirl, that's a product of our hearts and souls, that the little cogs not simply be seen as widgets whose fates are determined by an equation to benefit the bottom line. More than widgets, we are fellow human beings and artists who, when given the chance, can outperform the equation and multiply the bottom line exponentially. If a month ago there wasn't a marketing budget for Batgirl, I'd venture to say that that has been taken care of by the turn of events these past weeks. Well, that's not true. We've been fortunate to have such amazing support since the beginning from Glasgow, where we filmed, and from all over the world. Now more people know about our labor of love and are eager to see the movie. That's not true. But I understand your point. Now, I think it goes on. No, it's like one thing. I hope you get to read this letter and consider releasing Batgirl. She's always been an underdog and has nowhere to go but up. Now, I have to say, obviously, this is how you write a letter to a boss, by the way. You don't be rude, don't be condescending. Clearly, she's trying to, grease him up a little bit, with
Mhm.
lovey-dovey him a little bit. But that's how you do that. This is a professional letter from a person asking not to cut my thing, right? It's not going to matter. It's not going to mean anything. Actually, most of the press coming out is quite negative against Batgirl and quite positive of its canceling. However, I appreciate Ivory's take on this. We don't see this a lot from that community. The Rainbow Coalition are nasty, toxic, hateful all the time. That's not what that
Mhm.
is at all, dude.
Um, I think it's largely because the axe has already fallen, and he has shown that he is not to be trifled with in that manner. So I think it's because he's commanded respect
Maybe,
inside that company.
maybe.
Obviously, I don't
Or
even think
maybe
that's
Ivory's
debatable.
just not a bitch, though.
That's possible, but I think a lot of it is when you show what kind of person you are as a leader, people will respect that.
That's
You
true.
condition the people underneath you to behave in a certain manner towards you, not in like a weird, creepy way, just in a I won't tolerate that sort of behavior way. Then that's what you'll get. And that's just fundamental of being an executive at any level. The fact that so many executives have caved to nastiness so often, as we saw earlier, is the problem. And I've said that's the problem from day one because the more you allow that stuff, the more it's going to continue into absurdium. And that's where we're at now, into absurdium. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's actually a sign that Warner Brothers is a lot healthier than it was because it does have somebody at the top who people will send the appropriate level of deference to. Because I didn't find that to be like kissing his ass too much or I wouldn't even say it was groveling. I think it was very well done, very professional.
Hmm.
And that's exactly the way the correspondences should be in
Yeah,
these
yeah.
situations. They shouldn't be, oh, you're a bigot, you're a fuck you, and all. No, that's childish nonsense. That's not
Right.
professional at all.
Well, and I am nowhere near the level of responsibility of Zaslav, but I've been a boss many times. I have employees. I've had hundreds of employees under me. And so I have at least an understanding of it, right? And I tell you what, if I get a letter that's yelling and screaming, I just put it down. I don't even bother finishing it. But you saw me finish
Right.
that letter, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I would. Now, Ben, I know I'm not going to get much support from this lot, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Well, yeah, I'm totally in agreement with this, and I think this is the right way to approach it, right? And
Hmm.
the thing is like, and she doesn't talk about it per se in this, but like, there's no money to be made in shelving, right? I get that maybe it doesn't need like a theatrical release or something like that, but there's still money to be made, doing HBO Max and stuff like that, and
I imagine it'll end up there, dude. I do.
yeah, it absolutely will. That's my prediction, right? And that's totally fine,
It might take a
right?
couple of years, but it'll be there eventually.
I mean, if the Snyder Cut gets a freaking release like this,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
4 hour Snyder cut. Holy crap.
oh my
Although,
god,
speaking of that, we're seeing a real weird switch because they hated the Snyderverse and wanted to kill it, right? Which I didn't
Hmm.
disagree with because I don't like his take. I don't like that take from DC anyway. But now we're back to Snyderverse is on because Zaslav likes it. It's weird.
maybe
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
We'll see what happens. I really don't want to see Snyder's Superman ever again. I don't even want to think I'm going to see him. I don't even want them to put out material that hints at it. I want Superman back, damn it.
yeah,
Everybody does.
yeah.
You
Every
want a
fan
proper
of
Super,
comic books wants Superman again.
right?
We need Henry. He's the perfect guy for it while he's still young enough to do it to get his damn actual Superman movie. Not that nonsense that Schneider was putting out. I don't want Injustice. If they do Injustice, I'm done forever. I'm telling you right now. I don't want anything to do with it. I am sick of it. We've seen it for 20 years now. That's all they ever do with Superman. Or if they don't, they do something that's way over the top and melodramatic or way too full of its own ass. I'm sick of it. When it comes to the
Love you, Mike.
when it
Sorry.
comes to this big the big budget Superman movies, the fact that the MCU has dominated and we have gotten middling movies from DC and ones that are not Superman movies at all for the same decade is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He is the first superhero. He is beloved all over the world. Everybody knows who he is. This should be a layup. But for some reason, they can't put down their edginess for 2 fucking seconds and give me a hopeful, aspirational hero. Why? Explain, Warner Brothers. And I think Zaslav gets that from some of the stuff he's said in the past, that he knows Superman is just wrong, like the way they've been
Yeah, but
presenting him's
he's
wrong.
clearly a Batman fan, dude.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but that's fine because at least hopefully then he understands why Batman's awesome and why Superman is the counter to him in many ways, even if they're allies.
Mm.
I just want a good Superman movie again, please, for the
Yeah,
love of
no,
God.
I
The
agree.
last really good one was in the '70s, for
No,
Christ's sake.
and Christopher Reeves knocked it out the park. He really did, because
Yes,
that is what
Absolutely.
Superman is. He doesn't have to be angry. He doesn't have to
no,
be a badass, because he is that, and he's well aware, right?
yes,
And Superman does tend to be kind and soft voiced. He does, because he doesn't have to be anything else.
yeah.
And this
Why?
yeah,
It's kind of like if you've ever had a really big dog, they're usually very nice. They're very gentle and easy to get along with, and they're not
mhm,
aggressive
like
because they don't
me.
need. Yeah, they just don't need to be. They don't. There's no reason to be. No one's gonna mess with them. They're huge.
I'm
They're a
super
big giant
nice.
dog.
Yeah. But anyway, I knew we would get off topic immediately, but that's all right.
Yep.
I just want to give a little bit of a shout out, because I understand the pain of the people making a thing. I get it. The cast and crew are
Yep.
not happy. Of course, they spent probably a year or more working on this project, and I understand their pain. I do, and I just really wanted to point out that this Ivory here, that is how you send a professional letter. I don't think it's going to matter. It's going to come out whenever it does come out. But I just wanted to show that, wow, a member of the Rainbow Coalition can actually be sensible. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen another example of that. Show me another example. I can't think of one.
Well, that's the
Because
problem. Is the bad actors get propped up on like social media and stuff because they get their clapbacks or whatever you want to call it.
right,
And that's the kind of stuff that spreads, so that's what you see. You don't get to see from any argument ever made, you don't get to see the more rational, reasonable version of it simply because social media is so, well, retarded.
right, and she's well spoken as well. Because we
Yeah,
see it coming out a lot of this dialogue. It's not really very good English. But hers was, it's well written, and it's certainly, she's begging, but she's being, professional about it. But anyway, I'll move on. But I just thought that was interesting, because I was reading through the article and I was like, well, you go. That's how you do that. It's nice.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yes, I agree with Powell over here. Superman's tone was off, and so was the casting. Eisenberg as
yeah,
Lex
no,
Luthor.
that
You
was
kidding me?
horrible. Yeah, no, it was just off, and it was because he wanted to make a gritty. They wanted to lean into the injustice thing. And you're right; it's 100% the feeling they
Yep,
wanted to have. Make it different. We're going to make it different, and it's like, well, no, Superman's Superman. It is what it
right.
is. If you're going to do Superman,
Yep.
then do Superman. If you want to do something gritty and dark, then do something else, right?
Well,
Um,
now doing Superman properly would be the different thing because they haven't done it in so long. So,
Right. And
can
once
we please?
again, we love you, Mike. Nothing against Mike. Mike's a really
Yeah,
good friend of the channel. He had a lot to do with the creation of this channel, for sure. Mike Miller, and we know he was one of the, of course, he was one of the main artists on Injustice at DC. So
yeah.
thank you, Mike. But no, Mike, no. All right, fine.
Stop
Anyway,
it.
stop it. All right. But anyway, because I'd imagine if they did an Injustice line, he probably get some money off that, wouldn't he?
It would depend if they use any of his designs because
Well,
obviously he's not going to get
see,
money from
no, I think
Superman.
Jim Lee would undercut him in that, because one of the things I remember talking with Mike about is he was, he was a little bit miffed, because Jim did all the general, behind the scenes costume design, and then the artist brought it to fruition, and he was complaining because he put so many little panels in their uniforms and stuff. It was a pain in the ass for the artist, right?
Yeah.
So maybe Jim would get the kickback on that, huh? Hmm.
Hmm.
Maybe. But anyway, let's move on here to something different, but on our conversation today. Go ahead.
Now, former HBO Max execs claim David Zaslav plans to move Warner Brothers Discovery away. They need a better name. Away from producing divisive left-wing content. Quote: "There was just a massive 'we don't need you. You're not offering the things we're focused on.'" End quote.
Okay. Now, here is an example from a bunch of fired executives from HBO Max doing the opposite.
Yes, doing the
Uh,
wrong thing.
they are bitching and they are moaning and whining in the wrong way.
Yep.
And This article, unlike the last one, is them just complaining about everything and pointing fingers and stuff like that. Now, it doesn't go as far as some other articles we've seen from places, which are basically just calling Zaslav a white supremacist Nazi, right?
Yeah.
That
The
hates.
Jewish man, Zaslav.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that guy. But
Yeah.
This is not. This is somewhere more in between this article or this interview that they did with these executives. Um, and it's interesting. I don't think this article actually names those executives. Now, this was an interview with the Daily Beast, which we, take that with some salt. I
Yeah.
don't think they named them. However, they do have a meeting with these fired executives, and they come out and the Daily Beast, yeah, and they give their opinion. I put a few things here to talk about what has been canceled. Now, keep in mind that everything from J.J. Abrams has been canceled. Claps for Zaslav. Claps.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Zaslav. JJ has been kicked out of
JJ.
Warner Brothers. Thank fucking God.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't look back.
yes,
Just go.
please. Yeah.
They're
But
dismissed.
So he's been out. There was a sitcom got kicked out. Batgirl. I have a longer, extensive list we're going to look at here in a minute. However, don't think anyone knows just how white the staff is. All right, that's a great way to start your interview. Okay, that's how you do that, Ben. That's how you start. I don't think anyone knows just how white the staff is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good start.
Seeing as we live in a country where the vast majority of people living in it are white. How
Yeah.
weird is that? Just odd, you know? Anyway. While another, that's what one said. Another separately speculated these cuts left maybe one black executive, one maybe. And it's like, well, first of all, who cares what color they are? All that actually matters is can they do their job, right? All right, so we're starting out good. This interview is starting out great. White people and not enough black women. What about the black men, huh? Huh? Yeah, nothing, no love for the black men.
Oh,
How about the
they're the
yellow
white
ones?
the
Did
black men are the white men of black people.
I
I have it on a
suppose?
good authority from
Yeah,
Twitter.
that
What I
is
was told.
true. Yeah, what about the red men? No one stands up for the red
No,
men, Ben.
never, never.
Do we
Yeah,
have enough?
I'm taking a look at the HBO executive like leadership. We got some Asian Americans, we
Mm-hmm.
got African American, we
Mm-hmm.
got
Mm-hmm.
an African American man, we got an African American woman. I don't know, like it's one of those weird things where um there's speaking from the inside out a little bit here. There's a little bit of a controversy, I think, on the left from the BIPOC scene where
Hmm.
depending on how progressive you get, there are certain um, groups, minorities that get lumped into being white. That, like, you know what I'm talking about, right, Thundero?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
like they're like Asian Americans will be considered white, right?
Right.
Where from the Asian American perspective, they definitely don't consider themselves
Well,
white.
no, and it depends on what's convenient, right? It comes down to
Right.
convenience for these people.
Well,
You know,
Jewish people do it a lot
Jews
too.
are whites
They'll
now.
get
When
away
did
with
that
it. Yeah.
happen? I don't fucking know, right?
I don't know.
And we're going to get into another article here that once again lumping a lot of people into what is white. So I think we maybe need to understand a definition. Maybe we should stop using the word black and white. Maybe we should just say African, Asian, European, etc.
You're right.
Nor and especially white wise, it seems that anybody who can run away from it does. So white really, we should just throw into the. It's not the greatest term, but just call it the Celts. Maybe it
Yeah,
is.
Right.
that works comfortable.
It's this really confusing thing. Like, have you heard about the controversy about them not releasing the Jamie Foxx movie?
Well, I just
No.
saw a Jamie Foxx movie.
No, no, no. He's got a specific movie that they've shelved that they're not releasing because
Uh-huh.
there's a bit of controversy because Jamie Foxx specifically went to Robert Downey Jr. and asked him to play a Mexican in the film, right? And
Yeah.
so he gets accused of playing outside of his heritage and stuff like that, right? But it's
Oh,
really weird because like within the Hispanic culture, like there's a very broad spectrum that falls
Oh
under,
yeah.
right? So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
like so who do you know who the current like champion boxer is from Mexico?
Not now, but no, I can't answer that question.
Canelo Alvarez.
Oh
Look
yeah,
him up.
Alvarez is great, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, but he looks like he's Irish,
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Oh, they
He's
are
got
all over
red
the
hair,
place. Well,
right?
Yeah.
we know
But
genetically, historically, it is all over the place. Yeah.
no, and
The
but
reality is most of the, well, not most, but a huge proportion of Latin Americans are mostly European, right? They
Sure.
look like white people in every regard. I mean, they even call them white Hispanics on like official government documents
Well,
because
yeah, and
that's what they are.
and we know that Mexico has a bit of a caste system going on as well in regards to that. It's not official, but it does exist.
It's just one of these weird things, right? So like I think everybody kind of knows what a white person is.
I,
But
I
when you
guess.
start to become real analytical and pedantic, that's when it becomes fishy. And it's usually coming from people who, well, let's just be honest, they feel sort of, or they feel besmirched in some way, whether it be they just lost their jobs or whatever. And it's a especially in today's culture, it's a very convenient way to attack somebody
It
is to
is. It
say,
is.
"Oh, well, that's all you cared about is having or they're white adjacent, whatever the hell that means,
Yeah, it's
because
ridiculous.
they're acting white." Like, it's
It's
like, come on, guys.
convenience. Yeah, we get that a
Yeah,
lot. The Uncle Tom thing for black guys.
yeah,
But the reality here's the thing: when you live in a cosmopolitan world, which there are
yes,
not many of them, keep this in mind. The cosmopolitan place is quite rare. America is very unique because look at our
very
brothers
true.
to the north. They're not that cosmopolitan. Don't let them fool you. Now they've been trying to migrate cosmopolitanness to them, but they are not. America is quite unique. You usually have to go to really big cities to find a cosmopolitan environment, right? But America itself is built that way. And when you're in that, the color and the ancestry of individuals need to be to not take center stage. You are American. You are whatever that cosmopolitan culture is, and this is the opposite of that. They're constantly trying to point out this thing or that thing, and I'm telling you what. If you take a cosmopolitan place like America and you try to force it into these little boxes, it's going to lead to nothing but ugly.
Yep,
That's
always
the
has.
reality. It always has. I can give you an example of what they happened during the Civil War in Memphis. Same thing. They were trying to segregate because keep in mind the Egyptians, and they were Egyptians at that time. They weren't Cometians. They were heavily cosmopolitan. My God, the entire history of Kemet and later Egypt is cosmopolitan. We saw what happened in Rome. Once again, a radically cosmopolitan city. These things have happened many, many times before, and every time they try to delineate what group you are, things get ugly and they fall down. It's just not how you do it. It's not a white American, it's not a black American, a red one, a yellow one, or a brown one. They're American. And these people are part of this understanding that and I don't think they're smart enough to know that they're destroying something. I don't think they get it. I think they're just brainlets.
I think they're
well,
just angry.
well, and going back to your previous commentary about how, like, when what's her name was like making her commentary and she was being
Hmm.
very professional about it,
Yeah.
making a statement like this can really backfire on you because if you're saying something like this, And there's somebody on the board who like sees this and they're like, wait, what do you mean? I consider myself, not white or a
Right.
minority. What do you mean that there isn't on the board? You're, pointing to like one individual, like, and that can then negatively impact your ability to like get your job back or like come back at some point too.
Right.
It's really shooting yourself in the foot at that point, right?
It is, and they can't help themselves. And you can see why I juxtapose these articles next to each other,
Right. Yeah.
because this is how you do that, and this is how you don't, right? Um, and maybe you amplify the lack of diversity at HBO, and yet another exec, HBO ex-exec. HBO is the most homogenous part of this umbrella. Instead of trying to figure out how to integrate some of the executives into HBO, they just made this sweeping cut of three divisions: kids, family, and international. Okay, Zaslav has a plan. He is organizing. He's cleaning house. Yes, and
What he was literally hired to do.
Exactly. A lot of black and brown people lost their job. Well, you know what? I bet you a bunch of white people lost their job too.
Yeah.
But we
Well,
don't.
and let's be honest, why did they have their job to begin with? Did they earn
Right.
that job, or were
Well,
they some form of diversity hire?
well, does anyone think Zovzov is coming in? I'm going to get them black and browns. Do you think anyone? You think anybody believes that?
No, they don't believe that. I don't think these people actually believe that. Uh, the idea to imply or insinuate that this man has some sort of racial agenda. No, he's trying to make money and he's trying to cut fat. If that fat happened to be a a higher percentage of non-white people, then so be it. There's a reason for it. If you really, maybe if you sent him a professional letter and asked him, he could tell you. You ever think of that? Maybe his assistant or somebody at the company would just break down why this particular group had to go. But you're
Well,
not doing that. All you're doing is bitching.
Well, I think inadvertently they do answer that question. Because look at this quote here. It all points to the same end, they say: a rejection of left wing or highly diverse content in favor of more homogenous, middle American friendly fare. Now, of course, this is meant as a slight. And they do continue to go on and picking on right here, the older white and married viewer. Right?
Okay.
They're bitching about it. But yeah, they're trying to make money. So they want to sell to the average demographic, right?
Right.
And is the average demographic for HBO Max, which you have to pay money for, is it a bunch of college age kids who are around going around active to do activist rallies and things like that, who don't got a penny, two pennies to rub together, or the mom and dad who can actually afford to pay the monthly fee? Hmm.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, the other thing is you can tell a lot of these people either have very weird experiences with Middle America, as they call it, or they've never been to Middle America. I'm in Middle America, right in the heart of it. I can
Sure.
assure you, we largely don't give a shit what color the people are on the screen. We just want to be entertained. You
Right.
know
But
why? Because a lot of middle America is poor. They don't have a lot of money and they work themselves hard. Very, very,
right.
very hard, long hours, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours every week, no question. They don't have time to worry about that stuff.
But and
The idea that middle America is this racist cesspool and all they care about is this and they want to oppress. Nobody has time for that, bro.
no,
There's people out
and
here working
but
2 jobs just to pay for their gas to drive to the other one. Like, what are we talking about?
of course you're right, Thunder, but I think you're missing the point. From their point of view, the only middle Americans are white. There
Yeah,
are
which is
no black
ridiculous.
families. There are no yellow or brown
I
families.
bet
Uh,
you the
uh,
city I live in, which is right in the middle of America, Toledo, Ohio, is more diverse than most of the cities these people come from. I bet you it is. We have
and
everybody,
possibly.
and we're in the
Um,
middle of the country.
but I'm just
So
saying
it's just preposterous.
it is preposterous, and how absolutely colorblind that they are in a way,
Mm,
because it's not it's not skin color, it's culture.
yes,
And they can't get that, because there are plenty of moms and dads of all color who are very similar to each other across the board in America.
right.
They're moms and dads. Their color doesn't matter. It's not white America. It is also Black America and Brown America and Yellow America. They are
Yep.
families too. They have families. Now, I understand in the Black community specifically, they're having a real problem. I get that. But
Yep.
you know a demographic that doesn't have that divorce problem? The brown one.
That's right.
They have the lowest divorce rates of any outside of maybe the yellow
Asians.
ones, right?
Yeah.
So there's how many brown Americans who are just normal mom and dads with kids who want to see normal family content? They don't count. It's just the white ones. I mean, where do you think
Well,
all the Browns do? Where do they live in little cesspools being beat daily by whites? What the hell's wrong with you, dude?
imagine that. Holy crap.
Well, Ben, you
Well,
understand what I'm saying? The freaking delusion.
well, and this is where I always come back to the proof is in the pudding. Like, let's see what they put out, and if they're actually putting out shows that feature like all white cast that doesn't have um a white person at all on screen, then yeah, I think there's place to complain and place to say like, okay, we're doing a little bit of a weird thing, right?
You know they won't do that though. You know it's
Well,
going
of
to
course
be
I know they
very
won't.
American. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right. But that's sort of my point, right? Is
Yeah.
that like I hate this like and this is where I'm that dirty centrist, right? Just as much as I give like Thundero and you guys shit for like hand wringing and stuff like that. This is where I'll then give like the liberals like a lot of shit for like hand wringing. Like you're complaining about something that hasn't even happened yet. You're complaining about somebody who hasn't made a product yet. And I'm not saying what Zazzle make is going to be great. I'm the how many times have I said it here, Chet? Let's see what he makes.
Yep.
I'm not
No,
giving him
we
any.
agree with you. We agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right, right. So my point is like these are like really easy comments to make that have like no muster behind them because his infrastructure hasn't made anything yet. If he does make something and it is a hot mess and B features like nothing but white people, then yes, we're all allowed to complain because it'll be really fucking dumb,
And
right?
it will, and we
But
know it will never happen. It's going to be very American. But beyond that,
right.
it's like, do you think these people truly believe that there are no non-white normal family people in America? Do you think they truly believe that?
Well, I
Because
don't.
that's what they say. And it's not just this article. We see this being said all the time. It's white this, white that. And it's like, well, you realize there's a lot of brown, blacks, and yellows and reds that fall into the same exact category, right?
Y-
Right.
Yep.
Of just
That have
normal
very
middle
similar
America.
beliefs.
Just normal
Yeah.
middle America, yeah.
Yeah. Have very similar beliefs. Mostly just want to be left alone to live their lives and make some money and take care of their family.
And to be fair, the
Uh.
non-whites tend to be more religious than the whites these days. I mean,
Yep.
the whites have become pretty freaking secular, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing that, like, I always kind of lecture my liberal friends on, and I'm like, listen, you understand that, I'm very pro immigration and stuff like that, but there's a lot of these cultures that are coming over that are far conservative,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
really, really
Like,
conservative. Yeah.
you talk about traditional, like, Hispanics, they come over, they're very Catholic, they're very conservative.
Mhm.
Um, Indian culture, like Hindu culture and stuff, that tends to be very conservative.
Super conservative.
You know
Yes.
so and a lot of the Asian cultures that come over, they tend to be very conservative, right? So
Yeah.
it's like you understand that a lot of these cultures that are coming over, they're not as liberal as you tend to be, right?
Right. And and
Nothing wrong
and,
with that. but
and
but go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just going to add to it that, demographically, when we look at things historically, it takes 3 generations before the great grandchildren start to
Yeah,
becoming more attuned to whatever the culture is, therefore more secular like America.
yeah.
So you're looking at 3 generations. So you're looking at what, 60 to 100 years before any kind of commonality, and then you're assuming that 100 years from now, the commonality is that what you think now. I mean, go back 100 years and take a look at America and what was going on.
Right.
Very, very different.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of misconceptions that these lefty people have that they insist are reality because they've conceived them, so they must be true. And then when you, like you said earlier, Chester, when you try and tell them things, they just won't listen. No matter what you tell them, they just won't listen. Even if you show it to them, they won't listen. And this is one of them. There's absolutely no evidence that Zaslav has any plans on making some great white nationalist
No,
company out of
he's
Warner
not even
Brothers.
technically considered white. He's a Jew.
Exactly. He's a Jewish guy. Um, There's no plans for that at all. The fact of the matter is all they're doing is telling on themselves. They know their ridiculous far left politics are not popular. They know it. That's why they're so worried that he's going to go back to middle America because
Mhm.
they know in middle America their stuff at best gets an eye roll and at worst gets angry people screaming at them
Oh, sure,
because
and
it's just not their lived experience. And I hate that term, thanks to them, but it's not their lived experience. You come here and call a bunch of people, "Oh, you're so racist." Everybody's going, "What the fuck are you talking about?
well,
Like, what are you talking about?"
look what they've done with the most simplest of things, right? When I was young, and probably you guys as well, I don't know when the real noise started because I've been traveling so long, and but anyway, when I was young, if you went and asked pretty much any woman, "Are you a feminist?" They probably don't think about it, but they would be, well, yeah, right? They don't
Hmm,
really think about it. They didn't live that life. But if you ask them just off the cuff, "All right, do you consider yourself a feminist?" They were like, "Oh, sure." Go find a woman in America today that will admit she's a feminist. It's
hmm,
radically low percentage. Most women want to have no connection to that word at all. But if you ask
yep,
them, well, do you believe in equality between the sexes? Do you believe in fair play, fair pay, et cetera, et cetera? Well, not just women, anyone, most anyone would yes. But women, of course, would say, "Oh yeah, I do." But they do not want you to associate them with that word feminism. Look how the radicals have demonize this simple word, right?
yep.
In just 30 years time.
It's the
So,
same thing the moralist Christians did in the 80s and 90s.
oh yeah,
Christianity was humongous in the late 90s in this country. It was at one of its peaks, one of its highest points, and since then it has absolutely fallen off a cliff as far as comparatively to what it used to be. And it's because people got tired of being literally preached at,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
they just walked away from it.
yeah,
And also part of the attitude towards like homosexuals and stuff changed in the country. It's nowhere near as much of a stigma as it used to. I don't think it's a stigma at all, in most places anyway. So I think there's a lot of that. So the church kind of got pushed aside in the main zeitgeist of things. Like, when was the last time you heard one of these major companies mention God
oh
unless it was
no,
coming
it's
from like a Islamic point of
that
view
is
or something.
verboten, sir.
Yeah, they just but back in the 90s they
Using
did. There
Ben's
was TV
language.
shows there was TV shows all over the place on major networks about God all the time.
Yeah, see,
So
no one's going to give me
they
anything.
had much more pull at the time and they squandered it by being too inquisitorial, right? They
Like
were just too
being
ridiculous.
bullies.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
no,
exactly what these people have been doing
yeah,
for the past
yeah,
decade or so now. They're
and
just bullies
it doesn't
and they
work.
think they have the right to be that way. And I think there's a hard slap coming. I've been saying this for years, Chester. You know it. And I think it's this year, by the end of this year or next year. And Zaslav, from all accounts, is one of the fingers in that slap. Because all it's going to take is a couple of these companies, really just one as big as Warner Brothers and Discovery too. Discovery is massive to push back against their
Right. Well,
divisiveness, and it's over. It'll
yeah,
fall apart very quickly.
and let's take a look at how big this slap is, because you can see why I put these articles together. This is how you do this, and this is how you don't. Right? Very,
Yep.
very clear. And these people are both part of the same political ideology. Right? This is a professional. And once again, they don't even name them or show their pictures. They're so afraid of their opinions that they are anonymous. She
Right.
came right out, put her name on something. Right? Okay. But let's take a look at that slap, shall we? Go ahead.
10 Warner Brothers movies and TV shows, new CEO David Axelov has axed so far. I didn't
Yes,
even know the axe was there, but I'll take it. I'll take double. He's double axe now. That's
he
him.
has
Got two of them.
double
Chop it away.
axing. Now, this is a month ago, so I do have a little bit of follow up here on the other page. But let's just take a look at what has been cut by Zaslav. This right here is I don't know what this is. I did hear some talking about it, but it's J.J. Abrams and it's out. Good, because J.J. sucks.
Yep.
Okay, so J.J.'s
Bye,
out.
JJ.
Charmed. Once again, how many times you got to remake this thing or this concept? Right? I saw a remake of The Craft. Now, The Craft, the original Craft, that was a fun little teeny bopper movie. right? It was definitely
Yeah.
for the teenage girls, but you can enjoy it anyway. It was fine, right? It was fun. Did you see the remake of The Craft? Holy shit, dude.
Yeah,
Just
not good.
nothing but woke man hating. It's like, why? You don't need to even bring men up. It has nothing to do with them. It's about these girls. Why are you even talking about men? It doesn't make sense. If you look at the original Craft, it had nothing to do with anything outside of their little group of girls and their experience with dabbling with something they shouldn't have, right? And it was a fun little. You guys remember the Craft?
Oh
I
yeah.
do.
It was a fun little movie, right? Nothing wrong with it. Nothing to really complain. It's a little popcorn film. It is a teeny bopper film, but whatever. It was fun. The remake is absolutely toxic, dude. And why? It doesn't have anything to do with men. Charmed, of course, we had the original TV show, which is the last thing I remember seeing the noisy lady on there. What's that? She was a bit of a sex symbol in the 90s. What was her name? My
Alyssa
brother was all
Milano.
about her. Alyssa Milano. Yeah, my brother was all crazy about her. Brad Pitt. It's not Brad Pitt. What's the Guardians of the Galaxy guy there? Chris Pratt. Yeah, he
Chris
seems to
Pratt.
be all about her too. But anyway, that TV show Charmed. It was fine. It went on for a while. I certainly watched a few episodes. The cosmology was interesting. You guys ever see
Yeah,
Charmed?
yeah, I watched a lot of it
Yeah, yeah.
actually because it used to come on real early in the morning. So I would watch like on TNT or whatever or TBS, one of them. They had like the reruns of it come on real early in the morning, so I'd
Hmm.
watch it just when I was before I was going to work or whatever.
Yeah,
And I
and that
watched a lot of it. You're right, the cosmology of it was
it
fantastic. They
was
built
really
it in
interesting. Yeah,
incredible. Oh,
and to be honest, I thought it was way better than that Buffy crap. But that is Josh Whedon. What do you expect? But nevertheless, that was 100% female driven, without question. Right? That is a
yeah,
female driven story, and it was fun. There's nothing wrong with it. Why do you think he canceled this one? I don't know. Let's look at there. No white girls at all. We covered that. We got that clear. That's fixed. Repaired that quick. Right?
fixed.
Yeah, fixed it. So yeah, wonder why. Once again, why you were making anyway? You could have passed it along by bringing those actresses are still alive as far as I know. You could have done
Yeah,
some kind of legacy thing, but nope, nope, nope. And and I'm sure I understand why he canceled it, right? Because he is definitely not having any of this woke shit. That is clear. Zaslav is not having any of it. And the thing is, if we look at some of his commentary, Zaslav is a liberal, but I
yes.
think he's a classical liberal. More, he's like Ben, right? A classical liberal. And to be honest, even I have some liberal stances. To be fair, uh, but
Yeah.
uh,
I
but
know, Chester. It's a shame.
yeah, I
It's a
know.
shame.
I'm sorry, but I told you I'm a utopian anarchist. Okay,
Well,
but
if we could get to the utopia and have an anarcho-capitalist society, I'd be happy. But
well, see, I
that's
love
never
it
gonna
because
happen.
it can never happen ever.
Yes, exactly.
That's the best part.
The
But
journey with no end, no destination.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But okay, now you guys remember that show Roswell? It was eh. It was 9020 with aliens.
It had one good season, like
It
one
did.
half.
Yeah. Yeah. But we're going
Everything else to garbage after that. So
it wasn't great. Yeah, but now we got the New Mexican version. Canceled. I wonder why. Let's see here. 4400. I don't know, 4,400, 4400. I don't know what this is. Reboot of a successful 2000 movie series. Anybody?
If I
Anybody?
remember right, it's something like these people disappeared or something, and they just pop back up
Oh,
one
the
day. If I,
4400, but that was a TV show. That wasn't a movie.
oh, that's what this. Yeah,
well,
he's
it
Oh,
talking
says
about
a
the.
successful 2000
oh,
series, right?
series. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, no, I did remember watching a little bit. It was interesting. The cosmology and that was kind of cool too.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember a little bit, but this was canceled because my diversity. I'm sure. Naomi, the comic book was shit.
Thank
Uh,
God. Oh,
well, dude, the only reason they made this comic book was to have this show. It
yeah.
was the whole point of it if you went and read it. And I took that burden for you, okay? Because it was shit. Talk about woke, dude. My God.
Well,
Hateful.
I have to say it, Chester, because I've become this guy now. The fact that this nobody character had a show planned and shot before Oh, Nightwing. Hello.
Well, yeah,
Where's he
but
at?
it was
Still.
also they don't care about seeing, hey, let's put this character out, see if it's popular. It was planned from the beginning. We don't care if it's popular. We're going to make it so. But canceled. Thank God. The Wonder Twins. If this was done right, I think I would enjoy it, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
But
at least it's something different. Like the part of the problem is for a lot of these, part of the beef from my perspective isn't so much that it's, diverse or woke or what have you. It's been done already. Like let's do new shit. Like
yeah,
why are we remaking the 4400? Like
it's weird. Yeah, it's
I think
weird, dude.
part of it is the mystery behind why they disappeared. Like you don't have the key hook anymore because that series ended with a conclusion that explains shit,
It
right?
does. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. I remember
So
that series. Yeah.
it's not like Lost, where Lost got like wrapped up into all the bullshit of like what it was, right? Like the 4400 had a very definitive like what's going on, and then the
Yeah, yeah.
series wraps. I'm like, this is what's going on, right? So like, like that the whole thing about that, it was like the mystery of that series. That's gone if you remake that series.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's true.
So like, why the fuck are you remaking that?
Well, and the cosmology, as you're saying, was really great, and it was great because J.J. Abrams wasn't involved. Yeah.
So
Uh,
I don't know. I mean, like, from my perspective, it's I think a lot of these are we're rehashing series that are some of them aren't even that old, right? And why are we remaking it? Why aren't we trying new things and doing new things, right? And so
well,
that's my sense of it.
yeah. Now
Well,
this right here
especially
could have
with
been a new
Warner
thing,
Brothers.
right?
Especially with Warner Brothers, man. They have if you want to rehash something, holy crap, talk about a library. Just dig deep. Why would you
Oh,
dig
there's
like
tons of
at
stuff,
the
dude.
you're like taking from the very top of the well here. If you're gonna rehash,
Making a
what are you
bunch of
doing?
shit that they made. They're just remaking a bunch of shit they made in the last 15 years. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's weird.
Dude, bring back some of those westerns, dude.
Yes. I'm telling
Um,
you,
Yeah.
that's where the money is going forward, but no one wants to
but
listen.
this right here doesn't fall into this conversation because this would have been new. However, I'm going to guess why they canceled it because I don't know how many of you here read the Return of the Wonder Twins in DC Comics. I did, and the very first thing they decided to do, Ben, was to insinuate that old Jane and Zana here were having a little bit of the, a little bit of the sexual encounter, a little bit of incest, right? Now,
I just vomited in my mouth a little bit.
well, dude, I don't know why that community seems to think incest is the greatest thing, but they promote it a lot. And the first thing they did in the comic book was to insinuate that. And it's like, what? And then, of course, they killed Zane off, right? And Jaina now has all his powers somehow, right? Because
So
got to
what is
get
it?
rid of that man.
Wonder Twin?
Yeah, I guess. But it's dumb, dude. And it's like, why are you doing that? One of the things that was great about them, and to be honest with you, if I'm not correct, they were created for the Justice Friends specifically to make it more child friendly,
Yeah.
right? They were not
No.
original comic book characters. They came out of the Justice Friends from the 60s or 70s. I grew up watching it. So if I'm incorrect in that, someone correct me. But I'm pretty sure they were created specifically to make that show even more child friendly, right?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely correct.
yeah. So the brother sister dynamic is important. Not that they're sitting there having them some brother sister love. What the hell is wrong with you? Honestly,
Yeah, that's just weird.
it
And
is.
maybe that's why this got canceled was because like there's a bit of a stank on this that
Maybe.
you want to avoid going into like a bigger, broader like release and stuff, right? So that would make a lot of sense to me at least.
Maybe. It's a shame though, because that could have been fun and that would have been unique. But anyway, coming down here, Raised by Wolves. Once again, this show is the premise is interesting. The cosmology is interesting. I keep saying that word, but it's important to your storytelling, right?
Yeah.
And it's the interesting idea of this kind of bouncing back and forth of humanity between these two planets. I mean, spoilers if you haven't watched it, but they couldn't help themselves by throw in a lot of liberal wokeness, dude, a lot of progressiveness. They couldn't help themselves, and they reveled in it. And of course, it got canceled, dude. Of course, it did. And if you had just told your story, you could have a female protagonist, or I would call her an antagonist, but you can do that, no problem. We've seen that, but yet they couldn't help themselves, right? So that's why this is gone. It was a shame because it's not a bad idea.
Well,
I
the
don't.
funny thing is if you remember at the very start of this, what the guy, or from the other article, what they were complaining about was that Zaslav was getting rid of divisive leftist politics,
Mhm.
and all we've been talking about is how divisive it is.
Yeah.
So, if anything, they were the creators of their own demise here. I call them Dr. Frankenstein all the time, but they just don't seem to get it.
Yeah, no, and it's true. This one got canceled because they shot their load too quick. So fair enough. Scooby Doo 2, I don't know why, but it's CG Scooby Doo. No, thank you. That's probably why. Batgirl, well, we know it's just ultra woke, right?
Yep.
And and there's others too. I brought up another sheet here of taking a look here. Other things that have been canceled: The Amazing World of Gumball, the movie, whatever that is. Bye Bye Bunny, a Looney Tunes musical. The Day the Earth Blew, what? A Looney Tune what? Did I do that too? The holidays, a Steve Urkel Christmas. Wow, wow. Talk about having nothing to do with the modern world. Most people don't even know who Steve Urkel is. Driftwood, don't know what that is. Batman Cape Crusader and Merry Little Batman animated series. A lot of animation. That's a lot of animation got cut right there. That's all animation. So he's cutting everywhere, dude. He's just absolutely axing just stuff left and right. Now I have a feeling, and you guys tell me what you think. I don't think it's all this stuff is being canceled is all simply because of wokeism. I think there's other factors involved.
Oh, absolutely. There's absolutely other factors involved, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's fun to play the politics on it, right? And I think there's a money problem going on over there. I think they're
right.
trying to consolidate a little bit. That might even be. I mean, I've read theories that they're looking to cut to sell, right?
Maybe.
Because this is part of those things, right, where we buy cheap and try to sell off and stuff like that. So we'll see. There's a lot of conjecture going on, but my point is, as always, and like as we've said on here multiple times, let's see what they make. It's easy to
Yep,
cut. It's harder to make. It's
that's
easy
true.
to destroy. It's harder to create.
It's true.
So
It's very,
let's
very
see what
true.
they.
We have to wait and see how it comes out. And to be honest with you, I hope they make amazing stuff. I hope it's freaking amazing because that's what I want. I don't want them to fail. I want them to succeed. And of course, me personally, and I think many of us here, we want the comic book stuff to succeed. We want great comic book content. We really do.
Well, here's
Eh,
the problem they're going to run into with the comic book stuff. If they're going to make it right, especially like Superman or the Flash or whatever, they're going to have to have very white casts. So all these complaints that are being forwarded right now are most likely going to come back, and there's going to be a big hullabaloo. And
well,
that will, to me, tell me how serious. Like we said, wait and see what they make. That'll tell me how serious Zaslav actually is. If
right.
he's right now, like Ben said, if he's just cutting because that's easy. If he holds the line at the front of the battle here when they make a Superman and it's got a bunch of white people in it because Superman has a bunch of white people in it, and they get the backlash that's inevitable for that. If they hold the line against that, all right, and it's good, all right. But if they cave to it or if they meander around it, I don't think it's going to really change much. And I think a lot of the anti woke stuff is probably just PR, at least at this point, because we just
Maybe
don't know
it's
what they
possible.
plan on making.
Yeah, that's true. But keep in mind, immediately it comes to my head as far as DC stuff. Make a Martian Manhunter, make a Vixen
It,
immediately.
it,
Those two things would sell really well. They're great fun, and of course they're both black. Well,
yep.
Martian Manhunter's
Well,
not really, but you know what I mean.
but like yeah, Green John Stewart Green Lantern. That's a pretty
Yeah,
easy one to
yeah,
to put out there.
easy, easy.
Um, yeah. And even within like Superman, like it doesn't have to be all white. I think like I liked Larry Fishburne as Perry White.
Perry.
Yeah,
I
it was
Perry
thought
fine.
White.
It was no problem. When you take those background characters and do those kind of shifts, it's not a big deal. It's the front
Yeah,
ones, right?
yeah.
That's the problem. Like with turning Nick Fury into Samuel L. Jackson was freaking brilliant, right? It is a race swap. It is,
yeah,
but
it was a great one.
he's a glue character. He's a connecting character. It doesn't matter.
But I
And it,
don't think that's why it was done either. Done because they wanted Sam Jackson.
Because Sam Jackson's cool. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's what the guys who wrote the Ultimate said.
yeah.
They based it upon him because he's cool. But I'm just saying, when you do the side characters, you could do all kinds of different changes with them. But it's the main character you shouldn't mess with. That's the issue,
Well, the
really.
main characters, right? You don't.
Yeah. Well, all right.
We don't want to see. I don't want to see personally. Tokenized, as my boy Grimlock would call it, Superman or Lois. I think
Well,
we need. I think what we really need is we just need Superman to be fucking Superman. I keep
yeah.
Maybe
No,
saying
I
it, but I think
Luther.
everybody knows
I
what I
think
mean.
I think Luther could be like. There's a lot of like really good black actors that I think could pull off Lex
mm,
Luthor.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe. I kind of think he needs to be what he is, though, and they would never do that because he is ultimately a fascist. But
Literally.
he is literally a fascist, yeah. But
Yeah.
like, keep in mind some other ways it's worked. Smallville was fun. I watched the entire run of the series. I'm sure a lot of people did. And of course, in that is dealing with his younger life love, Lana Lang, not Lois Lane. She came in later. Lana Lang in that is race swapped. It's an Asian hottie, freaking hottie.
Yeah,
And did
beautiful.
anyone care that Lana Lang was an Asian girl instead of a white redhead girl? I'm pretty sure
Well,
she
I
no
mean,
was a
one
that goes
redhead.
really
back to
cares.
that goes back to my previous commentary that some people would consider her still white, right?
Yeah.
No,
So
she's
Well, just like
definitely
what I was
Asian,
gonna say.
and she's a mega hottie too. I don't know that actress's name, but damn, damn.
Just like what I was gonna say. Nobody really even knew or cared that Dean Cain was half Asian.
Right. Once
right.
Like,
again, and it worked pretty well for setting. So it can be done. It just needs to be done honestly instead of ideologically.
the
However,
intent
the
is what
intent,
matters.
yeah. So we've seen the absolute disaster is ongoing. To get things in time, I do want to move on here because I continuing this conversation.
Red Sonja ditches race swap, casts Matilda Lutz as title heroine under Solomon Kane direction.
Okay, now,
Interesting.
now the Solomon Kane director. Thank God, awesome because that movie is killer. If you haven't seen it, go
Good
watch it.
movie.
It's a really good movie. I have very high hopes now. However, I'm a little confused. The girl they had before, what was her name? I know they mentioned it here. Very, very ugly mulatto girl. Um,
Mm.
what was her name? Here it is. Hannah John Kamen. Now she was she's a mulatto. I wouldn't call her black at all. Matter of fact, she seems more Latin than anything, but a very unattractive female. My God, she's ugly. But okay, so they've gotten rid of her, and they say it's because she has scheduling conflicts. Whether that's true or not. However, they went with this Matilda Lutz. Now I don't understand they not race swapping because this is an Italian girl, literally an Italian actress. She's from Italy. She's not American. That's an Italian girl, right? So, and let's keep in mind that, Red Sonja was a Helsenian or something like that, or, some Slavic. She's Slavic, right? Coming from that
Yeah.
area. A Slavic character. So, isn't this a race swap still? I mean, if you really give a shit about it, it is still a race swap, right?
Well,
She's
see,
a
to
Latin
a
girl.
lot
She's
of
not a Slavic girl.
yes, to a lot of even just Americans in general, but they pretty much consider all Europeans the same. Even though you're correct, they're not. They're definitely not. But Americans, especially because we come, largely from Europe. Even the Hispanics, big preponderance of them come from Europe, have
Sure.
European genetics. Uh, we just kind of lump it all into one thing, and I
Okay.
think it's. I personally don't like it, but because the people who I consider my enemy do it, I am kind of stuck with it. And until they're willing to put down their sword and stop attacking what they call whiteness and just let people be who they want to be, uh, I'll stand by it. It's the only reason why I do things like I say. I'm very proud to be white. simply just to piss them off.
Well, I mean, you can be
Because
proud of your culture. Why not?
yeah, it's mainly just to piss these people off because they're so inquisitorial about this whiteness stuff, like it's some
Mm.
kind of power out there in the
Mm.
world, like it's the devil, it's coming to get them.
Yeah, no,
And the
it's
fact
weird.
of the matter is, it's not even a thing. Europeans are an incredibly diverse
Oh,
group of
sure.
races. They're
Yeah,
not the same race,
and you
but
should
they
be
get
proud.
lumped.
Unless, and honestly, Thunder, unless you're Ben, though, because he's a German Jew, that's a bit got to be conflicting.
I mean, every day I wake up not knowing what to do with myself.
It's true.
So
It's true. It's true.
One arm's hailing Hitler, the other arm's putting on a what's them hats called? One of them hats, a yarmulke.
Yamaka. Yamaka.
and I'm extremely hairy, and I just think that there's a big, bias against hairy people in
It's
America as
true.
well.
That
We
is
don't talk
true.
about it as much, but we
You
don't have enough hairy
would
representation
that be
in the.
Harryism?
More
I mean,
bears.
how often do you see somebody with like full on like shoulder hair? Like
Yeah.
maybe they have
Yeah.
like a little like neatly trimmed like chest hair or something like that, but like I'm talking about like a carpet like crawling over their
Oh yeah, yeah.
shoulders.
No, it's really bad. You guys
You
don't
had
know.
Robin,
It's bad. It
Robin
attacks you when
Williams.
you're not looking. It's pretty bad.
Right.
But
Like I'm wearing
anyway, I don't
it under my
care.
shirt.
But I just thought it was weird because, well, technically this is a race swap. But whatever,
It's
that's not
why
my
it's
thing.
so stupid to get this pedantic about it because there's no such
Yeah, it's dumb. Who
there,
cares?
when you get into the genetics, there's no such thing as like hard race like that. It just doesn't exist.
You know.
It's not
And
real like
keep in mind, you mentioned Robert Downey Jr. earlier. He played a black man, and he was awesome.
it was.
He
It was.
was. Uh,
And the whole point of that role was how stupid it is for him to play a black man. That was the whole point. But
mhm.
everybody wants to act like it's some grave sin.
Right. That's the joke. It's funny. Like I listen to guys like Abba and Preach and stuff like that, and they'll like review content from younger like black content creators who will like
Yep.
complain about the Robert Downey Jr. thing, and they're like, that's the point. Like he's making fun
Yes.
of it. Like, that's the entire point. That's why he has an actual black person like next to him pointing out the ridiculousness of it. Right. Like
Right.
they don't get the point of it. That is the joke. Right.
Yeah,
They don't
but
get
Abbott
irony.
and Preach are
I
very
used to call them
practical people, dude.
I
Yeah.
used to call those sorts of people linguistically autistic. They just
Yeah.
don't understand irony. They just don't get it.
Yeah, they don't.
It's
Um,
completely off their radar.
However, because I do want to move it along, I'm getting tight on time.
Okay.
However, this girl, I'm slightly concerned, not because of the race, because man, she's a bit old. She's 31, 32, I think, when I saw in the bio. But boy, she's going to have to really get in the gym, man. You're really going to have to get in there. I don't know. I don't know. But however, this director here, what's his name offhand? I think it's in here somewhere. But anyway, you can read the article. But this director here, who I have faith because that movie he put out, Solomon Kane, is spectacular. So I trust this guy to know what he's doing, and he didn't say it, but he's very excited to have this girl. He's like, I knew from the beginning when I had to do recasting, she was exactly what I wanted. He's very excited. He didn't say directly he was not excited about this Hannah girl, but it felt that way. Right? It was like he was stuck with her, and he was very happy to be able to pick his own, and he picked her. The fact that the director is happy about her, and he's looking forward to her, and hopefully she will put the work in. She's not such a big actress, so maybe she doesn't have such an ego that she can't go put the work in. That I'm waiting to see. She is a twig, Adrian. I know that's what I mean. I'm a bit worried. She needs to eat a hamburger for damn sure. But if she goes through the process, like Katie Sackhoff has done many times, if she goes through that process and builds herself up, I think it'll be okay. Now, with Gal Gadot, for instance, or Gal Gadot, or however you're supposed to pronounce it, um, she tried. She's still too damn skinny, but she tried. You could. Well, it is, and you saw her. I mean, she's a model, and this is a model for him as well. But Gal did try, right? So we'll see. Hopefully, she puts effort in. But I don't know, Ben. Can you see this girl being Red Sonja?
I mean, she's got red hair, right?
I don't think that's real. But anyway, go ahead.
But I don't know. I mean, like acting chop wise, she could probably do it. But I think you're right. The and the thing was like when it comes to, and this is where I'm going to red pill for a second and join Thundero, as I like to, tease him about sometimes, right? If there's an expectation for dudes like Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth and all of them to put on 30 pounds of muscle for a role
Hmm.
that they come and do, I think as a true feminist and a true believer in equality, we should have the expectation for women when they go into roles like this that they also can put on a decent chunk of muscle
At
as
least
part of
something. Yeah.
right.
No, of course, and that's something I've been complaining for years. They don't put the effort the boys do. So hopefully she will. But once again, I trust this director though.
I'll tell you
I,
what, a young Katie Sackhoff as Red Sonja, I'd have taken that.
Oh, any day. Yeah.
Taken that.
But
And
I have no idea. I'm not saying one thing or the other about this. I'm just saying that she got to put some work in, dude. But we'll see. Now, this article from talking with which I suggest you go read it. I am kind of speeding through it, but when you listen to director talking, he does let a little bit of the beans spill, because I don't know how many of you now. Keep in mind that Red Sonja is a lot of us think it's the Conan guy's creation, and it is, but it isn't. The Red Sonja we know is Roy Thomas. Right, Roy, from Marvel
mm,
comic books, the legend Roy Thomas. He's the creator of Red Sonja that we know, right? He took her as she was just come on a little side character out of Howard's book, but he made her, so she is an actual Marvel creation. To be fair, and if you read those, which I enjoyed, Red Sonja, they're fun. Clearly, they're going with the storylines of her two evil sisters. So she's going to be dealing with her evil sisters and somehow because he talks about the casting. So a little bit of information on what the story will be, which is interesting. So
yeah, hopefully, like you guys said, she gets in the gym, gets her. She doesn't even need to put on a lot of muscle. She just needs to get tone. She needs to get a
a
good
little
tone on her.
tone, a little bit of
Yeah,
food. She needs to bulk up a bit. She just needs to have
yeah.
more of the voluptuous look rather than the Hollywood diet twig look.
Just
Um,
eat normal for a couple months, sweetheart. You'll get there. Just stop eating
yeah,
like a Hollywood starlet.
Yeah, you get to look at her hips and her waist. She's bony. She's super bony.
Yeah.
But I hope all I'm saying is I hope she takes it seriously. And like I said, the director, this guy could make something great. He could. And I'd love to see a good Red Sonja, man. I'd love it. The only other one we got was what word should I use to describe that one?
Weird, awkward.
Weird, awkward. Yeah. On the book. Adrian says, I think Frank Torm had a lot of say on that book too, Chester. No, he probably did. You're right. I know that Roy Thomas is the guy who decided to make the character and push forward and put a team together. So Frank being part of that team, I'm sure a lot of people had voice, especially if you understand Roy Thomas. That is definitely a guy who sits down and is more of a team worker than the guy like someone who says this is my idea, get either it's my way or the highway. Roy's not that way, which is why he needed to be replaced as the boss, because keep in mind Roy Thomas was the boss after Stan Lee left, and he's not good at being that because he's not good at making, he's too nice. He's not good at making those hard decisions, and that's why we had the Jim Shooter came in, and Shooter's an absolute dickhead, right? But that's
Yes.
kind, you need someone who's got that hard fist to be the boss, and Roy is not that kind of guy. But anyway, so anything else on potential for Red Sonja here?
Honestly, what I'm surprised that they're not doing more of in some of these instances is going to the cosplay community and seeing if there's any valid talent there to be used. I know they like going with like actors with like, names behind them. Like they want some name recognition, but not too much name recognition so they don't have to pay like a
You should.
fat, yeah.
Right,
But
right.
like there's tons of great cosplayers. There's tons of muscled women who have like cosplayed Red Sonja
Oh yeah,
very well, who
wonderfully. Yes.
start interviewing them and seeing if any of them got some acting chops, because obviously they'd be totally fine with the outfit the way it is, and they've got the physique for it and stuff. Like that's why I'm like kind of shocked in some of these cases. Like, why aren't we going to the cosplay community more often to get some of the people who do some of this stuff?
Yeah, especially to see if they're any good at it. Just kind of throwing it out. Here are some ones right off the top. I remember I've seen that girl before. Here's another girl. Hello. Let's see here. Oh, goodness gracious, that snow is, as you should, lady, as you should. Let's see here. Not as much. Oh, well, that's a no,
Little,
no, no.
little thick.
A little thick, a little thick.
Oh,
Interesting. Okay. I've seen better than this, though.
Yeah,
I have
this how
seen better
is
than
this
this.
like the top 10? I've seen
Let me
better
just do
than that.
this one here. Let me just do this. Oh, please, thank you, ma'am. Yes,
holy
yes,
crap!
that's how you do
Yeah.
that, ma'am. Here's another one that's not bad.
That's good. And she's got some muscle on her.
She does, yeah. She does, yeah.
Yeah, she's
So,
not a
but
twig.
yeah, I see your point
I'd
on that,
still
though.
say if we had a time machine, we can go
Ooh,
back like 4 years
look
before
at
she had
that
a
one.
kid. Becky Lynch would have been perfect.
Oh God, yes.
Mm,
Yeah,
Becky
yeah,
she
Lynch?
had she
Fuck
had
she'd have been
just the
yeah.
right
perfect.
amount of
Yeah.
muscle. She had, she can act because she does all the time, and she was fine for a Red Sonja movie, I think. Uh, yeah, she would have been. But now she's lost a lot of her mass after she had her kid. She slimmed way down.
Well, she can put it back on.
Well, yeah, but she's being a
You
mom,
know she
you
can
know.
work out and put it on. She knows how to put the effort in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I
But
just as an example, like there are women out there who can do this role, who have the physique. Like this idea that they can't find anyone is silly. Now this lady is probably a perfectly fine actress. I don't know if I've seen her in anything. And
yeah, I
like you
don't
said,
know
the
her
director's
offhand.
really
Yeah.
excited. So let's hope he has a good eye for talent and she pulls it off. Red Sonja doesn't need to be a masterpiece of cinema. It just needs to be fun and fun to watch and a little sex appeal. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, a little
Nothing
bit
wrong with
better
that
than
at
the
all.
last one, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please. A little
Yes.
bit better than that.
But yeah, it is fair. So we'll just keep an eye on it. We've been watching it, and I just hope the girl puts the effort in. And like I said, this director, I do trust him. So we'll see. But I think it'd be fun. It'd be fun. Anyway, let's go to the last story here as I'm running out of time.
Let's go. Critics' score for Saints Row reboot are here, and reviewers declare it an overwhelmingly dated open world experience riddled with bugs. Now, who could have seen this coming?
Mm. Well, we've kind of mentioned Saints Row here off and on, just externally, a few times, and we know there's been a lot of controversy, a lot of noise around it. But I guess now that it's out, I didn't even know that it was completely out, but I guess it is. But have either one of you guys taken a look at it?
I have not.
Nah, Saints Row's never been my thing. I've never
I
been
never
big into
played
this.
it either. Yeah, yeah.
You know?
But a lot of people do like it though, Ben. It is quite popular.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
and what
yeah,
I and I, one of the you guys know I watch a lot of what's the word benign. Yeah, that's the word. I watch a
But
lot of
no.
benign stuff, banal stuff. I enjoy watching people build things. My wife doesn't understand it either. I understand, but I also do watch video game stuff, right? And
Mhm.
I actually don't watch much comic book content because, well, I kind of already know that, right? But I do watch video game content, and there's a bunch of video gamers that I watch regular. And I have not seen anyone have a good word for this Saint Row yet, dude. They are hating it. And keep in mind, a lot of the people, YouTubers that I watch, they're not political at all. It has nothing to do with politics. They're just video game reviewers, right? It really
Yep.
never comes up. But they are hating this game, dude. I mean, like, damn, what did you do?
Well, the proof is in the pudding, right? So I think a lot of this, I've said this for a long time, a lot of this woke nonsense, this really leaning into the diversity and all that stuff is just a cope. It's a covering mechanism because they know what they're about to put out isn't very good. So they're hoping to get a lot of positive PR by doing these things. Um, and I think that's exactly what this game was and exactly what they were doing from pretty much Jump Street with this one. And it's just not, by all accounts, I've seen the accounts on it too. It's just a complete and utter dud in every way. It's not
Yeah.
fun. Honestly, I think a lot of it is also the fatigue with these games. These open world games like this, I mean, every game is Assassin's Creed now. It's ridiculous. Somebody has to try something in the bigger studios when it comes to these franchises. I get it. Saints Row was always an open world game. That's fine, but somebody's got to iterate some way. We need to move on. Every game is
Right.
literally Assassin's Creed. It's ridiculous.
Well, and a lot of people are saying the gameplay is just clunky. It's not smooth. It's not the gameplay itself is broken. Not even talk about the politics they've insinuated because they certainly have. But just gameplay wise, it's getting a lot of flack from across the board. And keep in mind, you know, this isn't. I'm not talking about just stuff I watch, but if you go to the official critics, and we know the critics are very progressive, right? The actual video game critique world, the professional one. They don't like it either. Even they are saying
Right.
it's clunky. It doesn't. The shooting mechanics are bad. The movement is bad. It's just clunky and broken, and there's bugs galore. I mean, from the few comments I've gone and checked out on it, it's worse than the day one of Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
That's
bad.
bad. Yeah.
it's pretty
That's
rough.
not good.
Pretty rough.
So
Which is
Right,
a
and that
shame.
just kind of goes back to what we talked about. Like, if you're gonna make a lot of if you're gonna make a lot of complaining and a lot of this, that, and the other, you better make a good product.
Yep.
hmm it's true.
Yep. You're gonna get all that noise going. It better be worth it. Better
Yeah,
be
that's the
worth the
thing,
noise.
and if they would focus more on story first and ideology second, they would be more successful, dude. Because and that's something we've seen, and that's something that came up in my understanding, the conversation we had about Maverick. Um, that is story first, and it should always be story first. It should always be about the character or characters. It should always be about their journey, right?
Well,
That's where you start.
and I think a really good example of doing this right is the movie Prey. That,
Hmm,
yeah, I mean, there was some wokeness to the messaging, but like they delivered. It's a fun movie. It's
yeah,
like the best Predator movie we've had in a very long while, right?
yeah. That
I would
seems to be a
actually
general
put it,
consensus. Yeah,
yeah, right. I mean, I would probably put it above Predator 2. And somewhere like it's gonna be Predator, of course, is gonna be the best. And then I really like Robert Rodriguez's Predators, and then Prey. Like so, somewhere in that echelon, not top like above like the Predator, but like it's definitely in the top three, right?
yeah. Most people
Uh,
are putting it in the middle. Yeah.
so, but that's an example of doing it right. Like you delivered the goods. Like sure, like again, I know you guys complained about some of the wokeness on it, but it was a good product. Like, and so like if you're gonna make waves like that, you got to deliver. Because if you don't deliver, then you just look like an asshole.
Yeah, no, and they definitely, it definitely has wokeness in it, but she fails at the wokeness. The failure, the biggest complaint I'm getting out of the movie from critics about that movie is not the girl at all. It's the predator, and the predator is just dumb as shit, and that doesn't make sense because the predators are the Yaoja or whatever, however they name them, are very clever, and this one's just a dumb beast. That's the complaints I've been seeing, Ben. It has nothing to do with her at all. Matter of fact, most
Right.
people are like, yeah, she's fine. It's just
Right.
it has nothing to do with a girl. It's the predator.
Right. Her big thing is like she's not a Mary Sue. Like she just
No,
pays
she's
attention.
not. She's not
She
a
just
Mary
pays
Sue.
attention. Right. She watches so many people die, and she's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna do that. that.
Yeah, that's what I
So
mean. She's not a
yeah,
Mary Sue. She's certainly
yeah,
not.
yeah,
She has an
yeah,
idea. And she wants to trap it. But we know from watching the series that the Yautja, or however someone would find out how to pronounce that, are not stupid at all. They don't fall for that. We saw with Arnold. He didn't fall for Arnold's trap, right? But in this movie, spoilers, it's a dumb beast. It just falls for everything she comes up with, just easy. It just tries and it succeeds. Which isn't her problem. It's not a problem with the female character. It's the predator. But then again, everyone is saying the same thing Ben's saying. Yeah, it's one of the better predator movies. It is
yeah.
right somewhere right there in the middle. Most people's tend to put 1 and 2 kind of in that list, and then the Rodriguez one or this one is kind of swipper swapped depending on the person talking. But I would put Rodriguez before this, so I'd make this like number 4.
Yeah, Predators is like I don't think people remember like that's a good film.
It is good film.
Predators,
Yeah,
it recaptures the sense of wonder by having them be on a different world and having them be sort of kidnapped as like wild game on this other world. It recaptures the sense of wonder of the first film, and it is a legit good film to
it
watch.
is. And
So
yeah, it is. And the I would put the AVP movies and the one just before this in the bottom.
and
Although,
talk about. I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, talk about like a quote unquote woke film. Like you want to talk about a diverse cast. Holy shit! Both like the first Predator film and then Robert Rodriguez's Predators. Those are incredibly diverse casts,
Yeah, they are.
like all over the place.
Yeah, and they didn't, especially the first one. I mean, Jesus, they got one
They
of
even
every color.
they even
But
had an American. They even had a guy playing an American who couldn't speak English
dude, they had an
in Arnold
engine.
Schwarzenegger.
He was badass
No,
Indian too.
I have to say, and because this is me, there's only one good Predator movie, and the first one,
It is great.
because
Yeah,
pretty much every single movie after it, I would say, I only say pretty much because I haven't seen them all, but the ones I've seen, they missed the point of
they
the
did.
first movie.
They did.
Everybody thinks it's this action movie, and that's not what that movie is. Yes, it's a movie with a lot of action, but it is a very psychological movie.
Mhm.
I wish people understood that more, but unfortunately, what we get out of them is usually action movies. I haven't seen Prey, so I can't judge it. But the other ones I've seen, they're just like, especially the second one. The second one's fine. It's just it's nowhere near as psychological as the first one. That first
And
one
I
is
completely
like,
agree with you, and that's why I like Predators by Robert Rodriguez because I think it gets back
mhm,
to that psychological aspect of it.
yeah,
of
Mhm.
of them figuring out like, oh shit, we're being hunted, right? And we
hmm
gotta. So no, I 1,000% agree with you, and that's why I
Yeah.
like the
Well,
Robert Rodriguez one.
no, and the thing with Prey is, she, everyone around her knows she's being a silly girl, and the movie shows you, yeah, she's a silly girl, and then she has to survive.
Right.
So it's actually way more honest. It's almost anti woke in a way, right?
Yeah.
good.
Because she thinks, I want to do it because they told me I can't. She can't do it. She can't be a hunter. She sucks. She's in vital danger all the time, dude. It's 100% not woke. The problem is the predator. But the another thing that a lot of people miss, and all these reviewers seem to miss, is in the original movie, the predator is Arnold.
Yes,
They missed
agree.
this. They completely missed the point that Arnold is the predator,
Yeah,
not the alien. And I don't know why. How it's pretty obvious. I don't know. But then again,
the
You know,
the
people still
you know,
argue with
psychology.
me and tell me that the Blade Runner, the second one, the 20 whatever it was, doesn't
2049.
prove that he's a replicant because it sure the fuck does. It most certainly obviously proves he's a replicant. What the hell? Go watch the movie again. What the hell's
It
wrong with
took
you,
a
dude?
turn.
Well, dude, it's I mean, the obvious shit right in your face and people don't see it. I don't understand.
I don't either. That's one of the reasons why, like I said, the other Predator movies just don't quite get it. They don't understand
No, they
why
miss
that
it.
movie works so well.
Yeah,
It's such a psychological movie. The beginning is a bunch of bravado, a bunch of machismo. They're badasses. They're gonna go get the bad guys, and they're absolutely the predators. And then they run into a predator that is far more dangerous, and he has to become an even better predator than he was.
right.
That's the point. The
Well,
point of that movie is the growth of that character from just this action hero, basically commando like character, into something much more humble and much more
primal.
masculine, I would say, much better man overall
Mhm.
by the end of it because of everything you just went through.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think this new movie it portrays the psychological stuff better than a lot of them. Actually, I mean,
Good.
because you got to understand, this girl goes out, she's all hyped up, and she thinks she's going to be awesome, dude. She's in a world of shit, and
Yep.
she it very clearly understands, right? And there is a moment of the heroic, the heroine thing and stuff at the end, of course, but it doesn't play the way you think it would. It really doesn't, and I'm sure Ben will agree with me. It's not. It's not a Mary Sue movie at all, and I'm
No.
surprised because I thought it would be. So,
But that my
That's
point being is that it can be done well. The
yes.
proof is in the pudding. Make a good product, and people won't complain, right? We do too much like armchair quarterbacking or pearl clutching or hand wringing. At the end of the day, you make a good product, people enjoy it, everyone will be happy.
yeah,
Yep.
no, that's true. And we've certainly seen some things that are playing out that way. However, I am way past my time. I do need to get out of here. I have to go to work. It is one of those things in life, guys. It just is. Anyway, thank you all for coming in. Do appreciate it. That was fun. We had a lot of interesting conversations, and Zaslav, oh boy, I tell you what. But nevertheless, tomorrow, of course, we're going to be talking comic books. I will be continuing the Valiant a bit, and we'll get into some other stuff and have fun with that. So, thank you all very much. I will see you tomorrow on 9 o'clock p.m. In the Eastern. If you want to come and join us, please do. But Ben, do you have any closing comments?
Go out and watch a movie. There's a lot of good
Yeah.
stuff. I was just taking a look. If the access we have now through Vudu or Amazon, there's a ton of great stuff. Go back. Don't just focus on the new stuff. Go watch old stuff. We rewatched like Mr. Baseball, one of my favorite films. There's a ton of good stuff out there. Go
There
watch a
is.
movie.
There is. And the Gray Man with the baby goose in it was great. Go watch that.
Yeah.
And Maverick was good if you haven't seen that. But there are some good stuff for sure. Thundero?
I have a very simple one I actually came up with the other day. I think it's pretty good. I talk a lot about I've on here before. I've talked a lot about forgiveness, and very often I've said that forgiving somebody benefits you more than it does that person.
Oh
Lets you
yeah.
let go of it. Well, there's one other part to that that must always be remembered. Forgiveness is not permission. Just because you forgave them does not mean you're permitting them to harm you in some way again. Remember that.
Oh yeah. That's true. Namaste. Later, everybody.